Chapter 198, Master understands you. Deep in the night, inside the Mystic Valley Pavilion, candlelight flickered, and hot tea was brewing. Jianghu sat dazedly on a small stool, staring at the teapot and lost in thought. Guan was writing a book. After he finished a page, he started to appreciate it, feeling increasingly pleased with his work. "Disciple, come and have a look." Guan's voice interrupted Jianghu's thoughts. Jianghu quickly stood up, walked to his side, took the page from his hand, and read it attentively. The 7 Great Saints. Great Sage who pacifies heaven, Bull Demon King. Jianghu couldn't help but look at Guan and asked, "Master, isn't your bull downstairs the Bull Demon King? Did you write him into the book?" Guan chuckled and asked, "Is that not allowed?" "Of course it is, but your writing style," Jianghu nodded, her expression a bit hesitant. "Does Master have such talent?" Upon thinking about it, she realized that since Master didn't cultivate, he must have time for music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. After finishing reading, she handed the page back to Guan and said, "It's very well written. Just this part alone feels no worse than the investiture of the gods. Master, are you planning to publish a book? I hope you can surpass Pannon." Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly widened her eyes in astonishment and looked at Guan. "Pannon?" "Guan," Jianghu's expression turned peculiar, and she quickly asked, "Master, could you actually be Pannon?" Guan smiled and said, "This is my biggest secret. I'm only telling you. Can you tell Master what's troubling you?" Guan could feel that Jianghu came today wanting to share her troubles but was afraid of something, so he revealed his identity as Pannon to draw her out. Although he already knew the truth, he couldn't expose his identity, and what Jianghu needed was to confide in someone close by. Jianghu gritted her teeth and said, "I'm afraid of dragging Master into this. If you don't say anything and something happens, you'll not only drag me into it, but it will also become my burden. That would harm me more." Guan shook his head. Jianghu felt relieved and smiled for the first time. At Guan's gesture, she moved to the other side of the desk and began to talk about Su Han's death. Guan got up to pour tea, and Jianghu's gaze followed his back, trying to see his reaction. However, she couldn't see through anything. Had Master already let go of senior brother Su? Jianghu thought to herself. She couldn't blame Guan. She owed Su Han for covering for her, but her master owed him nothing. Guan brought a bowl of hot tea in front of her, looking at her calmly as she spoke. When she finished, Guan said, "The deceased have passed. You should live according to his wishes, not inherit his hatred. But, think about what he said to you before he died. What do you think he hoped for you to do?" Guan interrupted her and asked solemnly. Jianghu remained silent. Guan continued, "Let alone whether you can defeat the ghost mother of ephemera, the world is so vast. Are you going to spend your whole life searching for her? Cultivate well and experience the world your senior brother wanted to see. Do the things he couldn't achieve. That is truly good for him. There is a divine intent in the unseen world. Your senior brother ultimately attracted a body of sins, but inheriting his power means you share his fate, whether for good or ill. It's all up to your intentions." Jianghu was filled with countless thoughts, her expression complex. Guan was not rushed, he merely provided guidance. To let go, she needed to rely on herself. Jianghu looked up at Guan. Now, in her eyes, he seemed very weak. Since inheriting Su Han's cultivation, Jianghu had already formed her nascent soul, and her cultivation level was still growing. It was inevitable she saw others from a superior viewpoint, but tonight, she felt deeply ashamed. What use was mere cultivation level? She took a deep breath and asked, "Master, if I perform good deeds, will it really help senior brother Su?" Guan answered, "I am not sure, but at least this way, you can free yourself and fulfill his wishes." Jianghu chuckled, instantly returning to her usual lively and mischievous demeanor. "Master, you are Pannon. You hid it well. Earlier, I even thought you were the author of the Supreme Secret Records." "Ahem, nonsense. How could Master be such a person?" "Wait. Does she also read the Supreme's secret records? Gu An's expression turned peculiar. Shenzhen truly was a scourge, corrupting so many people. Zhenqin snorted, who told Master to love reading Green Hero Travelogue? They are all rumors. Don't believe them. The master and disciple duo began to argue. A long while passed. Guan spoke, defying fate, divine skill, master knows. Someone wants to pass it on to me. I can put in a good word for you, allowing you to become a true disciple and embark on a proper immortal cultivation path. Zhenqin was once again shocked, not expecting her master to have such an opportunity. Master, who is it? Are they powerful? Zhenqin asked curiously. Sect leader LV Badian, do you think he's powerful? Hiss. Does that mean, Master, you will become a great cultivator of the unification realm in the future? I did not agree, and his lifespan is long. Perhaps he will live longer than your master. This matter cannot be spread, to avoid trouble. I understand, Master. To be honest, I am now a nascent soul realm cultivator. These years, hiding my cultivation level has been really uncomfortable, Zhenqin began to complain. Guan laughed and said, Master understands you. How do you understand? Fine, I do not understand. Can Master hit you for daring to show off to Master? The master and disciple again started to bicker. It was almost dawn when Zhenqin finally went downstairs. Passing by the blood prison great saint, she squatted in front of him, stroked his bovine head, and whispered with a laugh, Little bull, I can now become a nascent soul realm cultivator. Impressive, right? The blood prison great saint opened his eyes and glanced at her. Crazy. He finally understood that this upper realm was full of crazy people. After muttering a few more words, Zhenqin leaped up and flew toward the outer gate city. It was not until noon that Guan used his disciple token to contact LV Badian to help change Zhenqin's disciple status. LV Badian was very interested in the transmission of the defying fate divine skill to Zhenqin and agreed right away. Another nightfall arrived. That night, Guan left Mystic Valley, stepping on the limitless freedom step and heading west, crossing mountains and lands, and entering the ocean. Step by step. The distance that a ninth-layer wandering immortal could traverse was immense. This time, he took a full 100 steps and landed on a small continent. Standing on the beach, his divine sense enveloped the continent. He saw many demon creatures, but no cultivators of the human race. This continent should not be sunk by giant sea demons. Guan walked into the forest. He didn't immediately find a place to break through but instead took a look around the continent. Meanwhile, in the demon land. In the dim tunnel, Xiantiani and Anhao were walking. Anhao was very nervous and kept looking behind him. Cultivators observe with divine sense, not with eyes. Didn't LV Badian teach you that? Walking ahead, Xiantiani asked casually. Anhao looked at his back, feeling a bit reassured. This was the only Mahayana realm cultivator in the supreme sect on the surface. In the 3 dynasty regions, he was second only to his master among the cultivators of the human race. Following Xiantiani, even in dangerous situations, they should be able to escape with their lives. Anhao asked, I always feel this journey is too quiet without any demon obstruction, as if they intentionally let us in. Perhaps. Xiantiani responded casually. Not long after, the two walked out of the tunnel and arrived at a cliff. Looking out, they saw a vast underground space, with rolling magma below, like a blazing lake. Xiantiani looked down at the magma lake, the firelight casting shadows on his face. Anhao also looked down, but his expression was tense. Such dense demonic qi, is the evil demon hiding below? Anhao asked in a low voice. Xiantiani said, You've been following for so long. Why don't you come out? As soon as he said this, Anhao was shocked and quickly looked around. Immediately, he saw mysterious figures shrouded in demonic qi emerging from the distant cave walls, 7 in total. Xiantiani said softly, I didn't tell you earlier because I was afraid you'd be in danger separated from me. Just watch how I handle these sneaky ones. With that, he stepped forward, walking in midair. And Hao remained vigilant, drawing out his treasure sword and keeping an eye on his surroundings. Under the tree, Guan sat in meditation, leaning against the trunk. He had activated the lifespan barrier and looked up through the leaves at the crescent moon in the night sky. Tonight's weather was excellent. It was as if heaven and earth were celebrating for him. Guan's lips curled up as he opened the attribute panel. Name, Guan, lifespan, 96/10376008, physique, mystic holy body, cultivation level, wandering immortal realm, 9th layer, 10,376,000 years of lifespan. Because of the failure to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm from the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, he needed to wait 20,000 years, so Guan chose to invest 1,000,000 years first. 50 attempts, gambling on a stroke of luck. What if he got lucky? The simulation began. You cultivated energy absorption for 20,000 years. Using the great accomplishment of the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcibly attempted to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You faced the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation but did not survive and failed the tribulation crossing. Failure. Failure. Guan remained calm, first playing with 200,000 years, succeeding would be nice, but failure was acceptable. As expected, all attempts failed. He then invested another 100,000 years. One after another, lines of equally long prompts kept appearing. All failures again, 100 failed tribulation crossings. Another 50 attempts, surely he'd succeed now? More practically identical prompts popped up, and now Guan could no longer keep a straight face. 3,000,000 years of lifespan and still no breakthrough. He couldn't help but look again at the words heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation. He truly wanted to see what this heavenly tribulation looked like. He hoped someone could show him in reality how to overcome the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation someday. Guan took a deep breath and chose to invest 50,000 years of lifespan. Failure. Failure. Consecutive failures struck at Guan's Daoist heart. Until a prompt suddenly grew longer. You cultivated energy absorption for 38,000 years. Using the great accomplishment of the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcibly attempted to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You faced the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation and survived, succeeding in the tribulation crossing. Your cultivation level has broken through to the first layer of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. Chapter 199, Breakthrough to the 9th level of heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 390,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the second layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 400,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the third layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 420,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the fourth layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated an energy absorption for 500,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 8th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. Seeing all the indications fall, Guan summarized the pattern and invested another 30,000 years of his lifespan, successfully reaching the 9th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. At the same time, nature's spiritual energy already bore into his body, symbolizing the start of his breakthrough. It felt so comfortable. Guan considered whether to spend another 30,000 years of lifespan to foresee the name of the next realm, but then thought it would be futile, for what use was knowing a name? The surrounding forest began to shake violently as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth descended. The ground beneath Guan showed signs of a chi sea, and the speed at which spiritual energy entered his body became faster. He began to imagine the heavenly flying immortal realm. What is the difference between a wandering immortal and a heavenly flying immortal? Guan looked at the sky. In the depths of his mind, he felt it was related to the heavens. After reaching the wandering immortal realm, he could sense a certain power from the heavens suppressing all beings, making it impossible to leave. Wandering immortals could break free from the constraints of heaven and earth rules but could not escape the suppression from the heavenly power above. Boom! the speed at which spiritual energy entered his body reached an unprecedented level, even making Guan somewhat alarmed. How wide a range of spiritual energy was needed for this? It didn't take long for the entire continent's living creatures to be startled, with birds flying chaotically, beasts fleeing wildly, and the earth trembling. Guan did not bother to worry about the commotion, as a large amount of immortal insights poured into his body. Heavenly flying immortal. One can leap beyond heaven and earth, roam the universe. One can peep into yin and yang, and control the 5 elements. Upon reaching this level, one must delve into the path of 5 elements to progress further. The heaven and earth primordial skill Guan practiced was precisely a 5 elements cultivation technique, so his breakthrough went smoothly. His primordial spirit underwent an unprecedented transformation, giving his soul a feeling of joy surpassing any form of pleasure. An hour later, Guan completely crossed into the heavenly flying immortal realm. The oceans surrounding the continent also erupted into monstrous waves, a scene formed by countless underwater demonic beasts surging, affecting unknowable miles. Guan opened his eyes, his primordial spirit leaping out of his body. He instinctively wanted to break free from the lifespan barrier, leap out of this heaven and earth, and peek into the higher world. However, he restrained himself. He gazed up at the night sky, his eyes penetrating millions of miles high, and he saw an invisible membrane enveloping the night sky, like a prison cage binding all beings of heaven and earth. He felt he could cross that invisible heavenly layer, but he didn't dare to at the moment. Having no understanding of the world beyond, he couldn't rush there. Suddenly, Guan spotted that invisible heavenly layer producing ripples. He looked towards the direction from which the ripples came and saw a figure descending from the sky, falling to the end of heaven and earth. Someone arriving from the outer heavens? He dared not look too closely, fearing to disturb the other. He suddenly realized that the world and the outer heavens weren't so isolated. Heavenly flying immortals of this heaven and earth would venture out but also return. He continued to enjoy the process of spiritual energy tempering his body. After the breakthrough, his primordial spirit had already transformed into a flying immortal primordial spirit, capable of slipping into yin and yang. By yin, it did not mean underground but another world contrary to this one. He could see the wandering souls in heaven and earth, and those souls about to enter reincarnation, flying into the sky, and disappearing less than 100,000 miles above, being pulled into the underworld by reincarnation. Guan could already sense the chilling aura of the underworld, so cold that he didn't wish to trespass. His cultivation level continued to rise. The speed of spiritual energy entering his body still increased, the chi sea on the ground resembling waves ready to engulf him at any moment. His primordial spirit continued to gaze at the sky. An hour later, he saw a heavenly flying immortal escaping into the outer heavens in the distance, confirming even more that this world had other heavenly flying immortals, and reaching the heavenly flying immortal realm did not mean one had to leave this realm. It suggested that the heavenly flying immortal realm might not be the highest realm in this world. No matter what, Guan's desire to explore the outer heavens was not that intense, staying in the comfort zone was the safest. Being able to grow stronger, why leave the comfort zone? Time flowed quickly. A full 2 ancient hours passed before Guan's cultivation level stabilized at the 9th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. The lifespan barrier consumed nearly 700,000 years of lifespan, an exaggeration. The next breakthrough, to fully reinforce, would consume millions of years of lifespan just on the lifespan barrier. A heavy burden and a long path ahead. After the spiritual energy no longer entered his body, and the world returned to calm, Guan slowly stood up. He did not immediately remove the lifespan barrier but sensed his own strength. His mana and senses both underwent a transformation, the 9 heavens of the immortal path, and the gaps thereafter would only grow wider. Guan felt that a wandering immortal couldn't defeat a heavenly flying immortal across realms, mastering any divine power would not suffice. Elsewhere. In the demon land, within a dark forest. A space rift suddenly appeared, and a severely injured Hao was tossed out from it. He immediately got up and flew south, constantly calling for his master in his heart, but unfortunately, as before, his master did not appear. Damn it, It's all because I'm too weak, and how gritted his teeth, his pride shattered that night. The scenes of Xiantiani using a mysterious scroll to send him away kept flashing in his mind, and his ears echoed with Xiantiani's ambitious words. Go back, I won't die here, wait for me to return and find you. The more carefree Xiantiani appeared, the more worried and Hao became. As those 7 mysterious great cultivators were overwhelmingly powerful, Xiantiani was absolutely outmatched. Who exactly are they? What did Senior Xian leave on my back? And Hao thought anxiously and angrily, recalling how before parting, Xiantiani slapped him into the space rift. At the moment he was struck, he felt his back burn, and now it itched as though someone were using a small knife to carve words on his back. He felt Senior Xian detected something and left the information on his back, but now he could not use his divine sense to check. Whenever his divine sense approached his back, it was repelled by a mysterious power. He quickly took out a spirit energy elixir and forcefully poured it into his mouth. His gaze became determined. He would definitely return. If Xiantiani died, no matter who the murderer was, he would seek revenge for Xiantiani. The moon set, and the sun rose. Heaven and earth completely calmed down, and Guan then removed the lifespan barrier and headed towards the Supreme Sect. With just 3 steps, he returned to the Supreme Sect. He returned to the Mystic Valley, came down from the building, and rode the Blood Prison Great Saint towards Tianya Valley. The Blood Prison Great Saint could feel his good mood, humming an unfamiliar tune. He had to admit, it sounded quite nice. Guan spread his divine sense, taking in the entire continent, even encompassing the surrounding seas. He began to inspect old friends one by one. Jianghu's Juhua sect seemed very harmonious, and she was practicing in the sect master's mansion. Yilan was handling affairs of the law enforcement hall, appearing very different from how she faced Guan, exuding an ice queen temperament. Liya and Zhang Buku were being chased by a great demon, appearing dangerous but likely to survive. Guan also saw An Hao, who was escaping. With no pursuers behind, he couldn't be bothered to intervene. His divine sense swept over friends and disciples, and then glanced at the demonic energy-filled land still teeming with many 7-star spirit realm cultivators. Guan felt he could easily break the seal and spy on the evil demon but refrained. The 7-star spirit realm's growth speed couldn't keep up with his own. Unless the 7-star spirit realm actively provoked him, he intended to lay low. Anyway, the 3 dynasties land was far from the demonic energy land, and unless it was a catastrophic disaster, he preferred not to intervene. After leaving the Mystic Valley's range, the Blood Prison Great Saint suddenly felt his body enveloped by a terrifying power, causing his steps to falter as the surrounding environment changed drastically. They immediately found themselves less than 200 miles away from Tianya Valley. What kind of divine skill was this? The Blood Prison Great Saint marveled internally. It wasn't his first time experiencing this divine skill, but he had no idea how far they had traveled due to being sealed by the path of returning primordial spirit. As the strongest being in the spirit realm, he was trying to sense Guan's divine skills to learn, but had yet to figure out the trick. Half a day later, Guan again rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to arrive at the 3rd Medicine Valley. The disciples had grown accustomed to seeing him always riding a bull, and some even went to buy first-order mounts in the outer gate city to imitate him, though first-order demon beasts rarely had the presence of the bull demon king. He sensed Shenzhen's presence, waiting for him in a pavilion. This guy isn't releasing another book so soon, right? Guan urged the Blood Prison Great Saint to quicken his pace, reaching the pavilion and dismounting. Watching Guan's anxious back, the Blood Prison Great Saint felt stifled. In such a hurry, couldn't he just walk himself? It was just a few steps. He couldn't understand why Guan needed to act weak in front of these minor cultivators, so he lay down to sleep, reliving his invincible moments in his dreams. Entering the room, Guan closed the door. Shenzhen sat on a chair, pointing to a jade scroll on the table with a mysterious smile. Guan approached the table and asked, "What is this?" Shenzhen raised her white chin, proudly smiling, "This is my new work, guaranteed to shock the immortal cultivation world." Guan looked skeptical, picking up the jade scroll and probing it with his divine sense. His face instantly turned red and he immediately withdrew his divine sense, incredulously looking at Shenzhen. You did this? Guan asked, trembling. Could she be a genius? This creation could indeed shock the immortal cultivation world. It was incredible, damn it, it was outrageous. Shenzhen raised an eyebrow, smiling. How is it? Isn't the idea of making pictures move like real people amazing? Guan didn't know how to respond. Immortal cultivation world anime? But this anime was too lifelike, no different from real people. Using such design in the Supreme Secret Records plot was truly impactful. Guan resisted the tumult in his heart, asking, who is the male cultivator in it? Shenzhen looked at him, blinking. I didn't use your face, but thinking of other men was too uncomfortable for me, so I had him wear a mask. Guan fell silent. No wonder the mask. Chapter 200, Do you know my cultivation level? Guan, suppressing his complicated emotions, asked, this thing is too groundbreaking, are you really going to do it? The commotion might be bigger than writing a book. In fact, the Supreme Secret Records written by Shenzhen had always been forbidden by the Supreme Sect. If she were not the holy daughter of the Dao Tian sect, Guan suspected she would have long been captured. Shenzhen retorted, I haven't killed or set fires, what's the Supreme Sect going to do, throw me in jail? But you are, after all, a woman. If this gets exposed, how will people see you? How will they view your father, or the Dao Tian sect? Guan spoke earnestly. Shenzhen's nature wasn't bad, nor did she have any emotional entanglements. Whenever he used his divine sense to survey the world, he would also glance at her. When she wasn't seeking him, she was mostly in her cave cultivating or delving into music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Shenzhen fixed her gaze on him and asked, you don't like what I'm doing? Guan responded, I'm just worried about you. Shenzhen couldn't help but smile, and she took out a new jade scroll, handing it to Guan. Guan hesitated for a moment but still used his divine sense to inspect the jade scroll. Immediately, his eyebrows raised. It wasn't just an action illusion, but the process of cultivating divine skills. The person in the jade scroll was Shenzhen, and it recorded her divine skills cultivation process, even including the meditation spells. After a while, Guan withdrew his divine sense, his gaze fixed on Shenzhen. Shenzhen hummed, this is my real creation, isn't it more conducive to inheritance? Guan nodded, saying, very good, it gives people more direction during cultivation. With that, he placed the two jade scrolls on the table. Shenzhen began to recount the experience of her and Lu Lingzhen's training. They had ventured into the grotto heaven of an ancient great cultivator, filled with dangers, and only after great effort did they obtain the inheritance and treasures. Guan listened avidly, occasionally exclaiming in amazement, gratifying Shenzhen's desire to talk. She loved discussing these things with Guan, while talking to others might attract unwanted attention. With Guan, she enjoyed his praise without that risk. After a long time, Shenzhen finally stood up and said, I'll leave this divine skills jade scroll with you. Before Guan could refuse, she headed for the door and quickly went downstairs. Guan looked at the jade scroll on the table, wanting to call out to Shenzhen. Why not take the other one? Forget it. Had better keep this one to prevent anyone from going astray. Guan had memories of his past life and had long experienced the corruption of this thing. His willpower in this aspect was far beyond that of the people in the immortal cultivation world. He felt it was his duty to bear this mental burden for the cultivators. Elsewhere, Shenzhen, upon going downstairs, couldn't resist teasing the blood prison great saint, annoying him greatly. Until nightfall, Guan finally took the blood prison great saint back to Mystic Valley. Late at night, Guan quietly arrived at Ninshu Cave of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Tian Yaoa was cultivating, while two cat demons were playing. Seeing Guan appear, they quickly stopped and lay on the ground. Although they hadn't shape-shifted yet, they were highly intelligent and, under Tian Yaoa's guidance, they were very respectful towards Guan. Guan nodded at them, then sat at the stone table and began contemplating the matters of a grotto heaven. With his current cultivation level, opening up an independent minor heaven and earth wasn't difficult, but the challenge was in raising the spiritual energy. He couldn't instantly create a minor heaven and earth filled with spiritual energy. Next, he planned to collect high-grade celestial treasures to prepare for his grotto heaven. He was now thinking about where to hide the grotto heaven. Although the minor heaven and earth within the grotto heaven was hidden in another space, the entrance to the real world was fixed and couldn't move. After much thought, Guan decided to open the grotto heaven on the mainland. This mainland was vast and had fewer immortal realms, making it suitable for him to develop slowly. At this time, Tian Yao approached and asked what he was thinking. Guan didn't hide anything, as the grotto heaven would eventually need to be managed by her. To seize lifespan, he needed to personally harvest it with his mana, as puppets or clones weren't reliable. The clones of his 9 extremes yin-yang body, though called clones, were actually formed by his mana and lacked independent thought. Guan had no interest in clones, he preferred to directly experience life and growth. Tian Yao, upon hearing this, was secretly shocked. The master had already opened a minor heaven and earth? She wondered if Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother could do the same. Having cultivated for so long, she wasn't naive. She was increasingly certain that the master was stronger than the Demon Mother. It was just that he claimed he couldn't defeat the Demon Mother to encourage her to cultivate. She felt no resentment towards this. Her enemies needed to be dealt with by her own hands. Just set it here at Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. It said that Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was once a habitat for phoenixes. Every few thousand years, enormous spiritual energy surges from the ground, producing countless celestial treasures. Tian Yao said earnestly. Guan thought it made sense. Then, he sent his divine sense underground to open up a minor heaven and earth. The grotto heaven couldn't be too close to Nianshu Cave to avoid affecting the growth of medicinal herbs here. It should ideally be near the great earth spirit lineage, so it could absorb the underground spiritual energy. An hour later, Guan successfully opened it. Unlike other great cultivators who needed to fill it with soil and water, he could directly manifest it with his mana, thanks to his 5 elements attribute. However, the plants would still need to be relocated manually. For now, he wasn't in a hurry. He would let the grotto heaven absorb spiritual energy first. With the arrival of the new year, the Supreme Sect was busy with celebrations and all cities were bustling. Guan rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to the outer gate city. Although they attracted many gazes along the way, no one was surprised. Nowadays, many disciples in the outer gate city rode mounts, and numerous majestic demon birds circled above the city. The Blood Prison Great Saint was also very interested in the outer gate city, constantly looking around. Brother Gu, long time no see. A light laugh sounded, and Guan turned his head to see Di Xia approaching. Di Xia had gotten acquainted with Suolin and Guan when he first arrived. He had always hidden his true identity, and now only the high levels of the Supreme Sect knew that he was the son of the Demon Emperor. Guan dismounted with a smile, raised his hand, and cupped his fists. Di Xia looked at the Blood Prison Great Saint, examining it, and said, Brother Gu, this mount of yours seems to have a unique bloodline? Although the Blood Prison Great Saint's cultivation level was low, Di Xia could still sense some unusual traits, but nothing more. Guan laughed, he's quite good. I like him a lot, so I take him everywhere with me, but his speed is a bit slow. Di Xia smiled and nodded, then invited Guan for a drink, which Guan didn't refuse. He led the Blood Prison Great Saint and followed Di Xia. They chatted and laughed along the way, their relationship harmonious. After experiencing the demon catastrophe, Di Xia cherished his friendship with Suolin and Guan even more. The human and demon races shouldn't be forever locked in conflict, they could coexist peacefully, just like him and Guan. The two found an inn. Guan left the Blood Prison Great Saint by the inn's door and asked the innkeeper to keep an eye on him. The two went to the second floor by the window. The first sword competition in the world is about to start. I'm planning to participate. You must come to watch then. Di Xia said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Guan immediately agreed and wished him success in advance. I've heard they're preparing to recruit some demon clan disciples. Brother Gu, what do you think about this? Di Xia asked curiously. He was pleased but also worried when he heard this. He knew well the nature of some demons. If they harmed someone in the supreme sect, would that not worsen the conflict? After all, the demon catastrophe had only ended recently, and there was still significant resentment towards demons among the human cultivators. It's a good thing. Didn't some demons help us fight off the evil demons during the catastrophe? Now that the demon ancestor has fallen, but evil demons remain, which are a greater calamity. The human and demon races should unite to overcome the tribulation. Guan said casually. Xia observed his expression, trying to figure out his true thoughts, but his words made Xia happy. They started drinking, passing cups back and forth, and soon, 2 jars were emptied. An hour later, sounds of a cow and the innkeeper's voice interrupted Guan and Xia's conversation. I need to go down and check, Guan said, standing up. Xia nodded and followed him downstairs. In front of the inn's door, more and more disciples gathered. The innkeeper stood in front of the blood prison great saint, wearing a forced smile as he looked at the luxurious robed man in front of him, saying, Sir, I really can't sell this cow. If you want to buy it, you should find the owner upstairs. The man in luxurious robes was arrogant, with 4 attendants behind him, all looking formidable. He looked down at the innkeeper and said, Go call him down. Before the innkeeper could respond, Gu An's voice came from behind, Brother, sorry, but this cow is not for sale. Guan approached the blood prison great saint, patting its head, and gave the luxurious robed man a lifespan detection. This was his habitual action to see the other person's maximum lifespan. Zhou Yi, Divinity Transformation Stage 5th Level 402/880/1200, surname Zhou? Guan thought to himself. After the Ji family left the supreme sect, the Zhou family also started leaving, reportedly to support the Zhangtian sect. Zhou Yi looked at Guan and said, 2 top great spirit stones, I'll take it. As soon as he said this, the surrounding disciples were in an uproar. A first-order demon beast worth that much? Listening to the discussions around, the blood prison great saint was infuriated, his eyes flaring up with rage. He accepted being Gu An's steed, but who did this kid think he was? The blood prison great saint judged from the other's aura that he was just a low-level divinity transformation cultivator. Guan frowned, shaking his head in difficulty. Xia suddenly stepped in front of him and said, My brother said it's not for sale, stop pestering. Zhou Yi looked him up and down and sneered, Do you know what my cultivation level is? What, being in the divinity transformation stage 5th level makes you arrogant? Xia retorted coldly. The crowd was in an uproar again, and the innkeeper stepped back in fear, with Guan also pretending to be shocked. Zhou Yi asked, frowning, Who are you? Xia said calmly, I am Xia, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd Layer. Bang! The whole street exploded into chaos. Zhou Yi and the 4 behind him all retreated together. Xia glanced at Guan, giving an apologetic look. The blood prison great saint, at the Mahayana realm 8th layer, felt humiliated. Was the Mystic Heart realm that prestigious? After he ascended, he shouldn't have been so arrogant. Guan, at the heaven and earth flying immortal realm 9th level, feigned tension, continuously stroking the cow's head. Chapter 201, Demon shocks the world under the might of Xia. Zhou Yi ultimately withdrew with his men. Before leaving, Zhou Yi still harbored hostility towards Guan. However, it did not reach the level of hatred, only dissatisfaction, and a desire to teach him a lesson. Afterward, Xia laid his cards on the table with Guan, revealing his true identity, and left with a look of shock on Gu An's face. He turned his back to Guan, sighed slightly under the gaze of many disciples on both sides of the street. From now on, it would be challenging for him to befriend Guan, as the difference in status and cultivation level was clear. Even if he had the inclination to form a bond, Brother Gu would probably feel pressured, wouldn't he? Xia smiled self-deprecatingly. Guan continued to ride the blood prison great saint around the street. After nearly 2 ancient hours, they finally left the city. On the way to the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan introduced the Supreme Sect and those noble families to the Blood Prison Great Saint. The Blood Prison Great Saint listened intently, for Guan had said that he would let him go after 1,000 years. Once free, he would still need to understand this great heaven and earth, so it was best to accumulate knowledge now. Do you know why I captured you? Guan asked nonchalantly. The Blood Prison Great Saint was no fool and thought it must be related to those two half-human, half-demon individuals. You might think this world is nothing special, but it is far more dangerous than you imagine. This is also why I hide my cultivation level. Serving me for 1,000 years, first to atone for your sins, and second to temper your character. I hope you cherish it. Guan spoke softly. If the Blood Prison Great Saint performed well, he wouldn't mind teaching him the primordial reincarnation skill. The primordial reincarnation skill and the path of returning primordial spirit were, in a sense, a perfect match. It was just right to use the Blood Prison Great Saint to experiment and see if it was effective. Moo, the Blood Prison Great Saint responded. Although he could not speak human words, Guan understood his submissive intention. In fact, the mindset of the Blood Prison Great Saint had already changed. He had thought before that following Guan might be an opportunity. At least Guan could be his protector. If it hadn't been Guan who took action against him back then, but another immortal cultivator of similar cultivation level, he might have already died and vanished. Putting himself in someone else's shoes, if someone attacked his disciple or junior, he wouldn't show mercy either. Within the circle of great cultivators in the spirit realm, there was a saying, it is better to provoke the Blood Prison Great Saint himself than to suppress his juniors. The Blood Prison Great Saint's pace wasn't fast, and Guan didn't rush him. During the ride, it seemed as if he was talking to himself, while the Blood Prison Great Saint didn't feel annoyed. For some reason, he always felt that Guan had changed recently. Even a casual remark from him felt inexplicably calming to the Blood Prison Great Saint. He didn't believe it was an illusion. It must be related to Guan's cultivation level. Perhaps he could learn something by following Guan. After the bustling and busy spring festival, Guan continued his simple life. During this period, no one from the Zhou family caused trouble for Guan, perhaps fearing Di Xia or knowing about his relationship with LV Badian. In any case, Guan didn't mind. Nowadays, he wouldn't regard the Zhou family as a threat. If Zhou Yi harbored any intent to kill him, he would resolve it immediately. In the days that followed, he would go to the inner sect city once a month to sell his medicinal herbs and accumulate spirit stones. He had already spotted a more prosperous cultivation city overseas, planning to go there in the future to purchase a large number of high-rank medical herbs and plant them in his grotto heaven. The days were busy yet purposeful and not at all dull for him. In the blink of an eye. Over half a year had passed, and Guan turned 97 years old. The demonic qi in the north grew thicker, and in a few more years, the so-called evil demon might break the seal. The first Sword Dao tournament in the world was in full swing, and Guan was also watching the excitement. In the distant demon land. In the underground space wherein Hao parted ways with Xian Tianyi, Ji Xianling stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the magma with a frown. He saw several skeletons floating and sinking. Behind him stood a group of 7 stars spirit realm cultivators. Below should be the sealed place of the evil demon, right? The demonic qi here is truly terrifying. We must have the seniors of our realm come to handle it. A message has already been sent. We shall hold our ground here first to prevent other cultivators from entering and ruining the plan. You never know when the evil demon will break the seal. If it suddenly happens, we won't be able to hold out. Ji Xianling ignored their chatter, his gaze lingering on the distant cave wall. He saw numerous shocking cracks, indicating a great battle had occurred there before. One of the cracks made him frown. Could it be him? Ji Xianling thought of Xian Tianyi. He had fought with Xian Tianyi countless times and was well aware of his combat methods. The thought of Xian Tianyi possibly dying here made him inexplicably uneasy. Wait, the seal hasn't been broken yet, so why would someone be fighting here? Could someone have tried to stop Xian Tianyi? Who could have arrived here before the 7-star spirit realm? Ji Xianling furrowed his brows deeply, a terrifying suspicion arising in his mind, making his face turn even grimmer. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the Supreme Sect's main city, Anhao stared intently at LV Badian sitting at the head seat, while LV Badian frowned deeply. Master, what should we do? Anhao asked in a deep voice, with a sense of foreboding in his heart. LV Badian did not display the fury Anhao expected but remained silent instead. Senior Xian is the only Mahayana realm cultivator we have in the Supreme Sect. We cannot abandon him. Anhao said through gritted teeth. LV Badian looked at him and said, you said it yourself, the only one. If even he couldn't withstand it, what can we do? Unless the sword Venerable Fudao intervenes, but we don't even know where he is. We can't ask the entire sect to beg him for one person, right? Anhao's expression changed several times. Because when he failed to summon his master that night, he thought his master didn't want to get involved. Afterward, he stopped calling for help and rushed back to the Supreme Sect. His master was unwilling to intervene, and the Supreme Sect didn't want to. What should he do? What bothered Anhao the most was that he couldn't blame anyone. If he had the strength, he wouldn't need to beg. The Supreme Sect had countless disciples. It was impossible to sacrifice them all for one person. His master didn't owe him or the Supreme Sect anything. Why should he keep cleaning up after him? Suddenly, Anhao thought of something. He turned around and removed his robe, exposing his back, saying, this is left by Senior Xian, seems to be some kind of restriction. My divine sense couldn't decipher it. LV Badian looked up, eyes widening abruptly, and appeared behind Anhao in a flash. He gripped Anhao's shoulders tightly, preventing him from moving. So, that's it. Hearing LV Badian's words, Anhao, though confused, didn't interrupt his master's examination of the restriction on his back. Mid-autumn, the first Sword Dao tournament in the world concluded, and the champion was a Sword Dao great cultivator from the Gu family. Di Xie ranked second. Guan also watched the final battle between Di Xie and the Gu family great cultivator. If Di Xie hadn't insisted on using a sword, he might not have lost. Though Di Xie was at the Mystic Heart realm, his swordsmanship was exceedingly immature. The first Sword Dao tournament in the world attracted the entire immortal cultivation world's attention, bringing immense profit to the Supreme Sect. Other sects began to emulate the Supreme Sect, hosting various tournaments. However, at this stage, cultivators were more interested in the spectacular combat demonstrated in the first Sword Dao tournament in the world. After the tournament, Anhao sought out an Xian. The siblings hadn't seen each other for a long time and were very happy, talking for a long while. Guan noticed that Anhao seemed to have something on his mind, but his relationship with Anhao wasn't close enough to inquire. Before leaving, Anhao found Guan, thanked him for taking care of an Xian, and gifted him many high-rank medical herb seeds. After some polite refusal, Guan reluctantly accepted them. The two didn't talk for long before Anhao took his leave. Guan watched Anhao's departing figure, guessing it was related to his experience in the demon land. Disciple, fear not. Once he emerges, he's dead. Guan thought silently and suddenly recalled Xiantiani. Anhao had previously spent time with Xiantiani. Why had only Anhao returned? He immediately used his divine sense to scan the entire continent but couldn't find Xiantiani. Had Xiantiani sailed away? But he hadn't seen him depart. Gu An's gaze fixed on that demonic chi-laden area, where numerous seven-star spirit realm cultivators had gathered, including Ji Xianling, who had previously visited the Supreme Sect. Aside from the deep underground and a few obscure hidden realms, the only remaining place he hadn't explored was the sealed area of the evil demon. Could it be that Xiantiani was captured by the seven-star spirit realm or had fallen into the sealed area of the evil demon? 2 months later, the north erupted with terrifying demonic chi, as dreadful as the demonic might of the demon ancestor, alarming the 3 dynasties. Standing up in the third Medicine Valley, Guan turned to look. Not far away, the blood prison great saint also gazed northward, secretly alarmed. What terrifying demonic chi! This great heaven and earth truly hid dragons and tigers. Who might be behind this demonic chi? Guan only took one glance before continuing to pick medicinal herbs. The blood prison great saint glanced at Guan, seeing his calm demeanor, and felt relieved. Come to think of it, he wasn't clear about Guan's true cultivation level. Disciples in the valley were also disturbed by the distant demonic might. They gathered in groups, discussing the matter. They immediately associated it with the evil demon. Since the Holy Land's emergence and the spread of the legend of the evil demon, it had become a significant concern among people. After the eruption, the demonic might persisted, not dispersing, though it didn't affect the disciples' lives. It made them feel oppressed and uneasy. Early the next morning, many cultivators flew over the Third Medicine Valley, heading north. Guan's divine sense observed the three dynasties, noting that various sects were sending many cultivators toward the demon land. He wasn't worried. Judging from the current aura, the evil demon was at the level of a loose immortal and had not completely broken free from the seal. He wanted to see if the Seven Stars spirit realm would truly assist the three dynasties' human race in resisting the evil demon. Meanwhile, in a forest, Jianghu followed Liya, unable to restrain himself from asking, "Brotherly, with such demonic qi, it must be the legendary evil demon. We should stay away and let the great cultivators handle it." Chapter 202, The elder uncle is called Guan, do you know him? The world is in distress, how can we cultivators sit idly by? This has nothing to do with cultivation level, it's about spirit. Liya said without turning his head, his tone resolute and powerful, causing Jianghu to feel somewhat ashamed. In terms of awareness, he was indeed not as good as brotherly, of course, if we get an opportunity, that's even better. Let's try it. The more people there are, the easier it is to blend in, at least we won't be easy targets. Liya shifted his tone and continued. Jianghu twitched his mouth but did not refute. He twisted his arm and said, "Brotherly, it seems my old injury is acting up." "Hold it in. Is your injury more serious than mine? As men, even if we die, it's just a scar as big as a bowl. What are you afraid of? If you're scared, you'll lose for a lifetime." Liya snorted, his gaze penetrating the gaps in the leaves, looking at the rolling demonic clouds in the sky, his thoughts drifting. Jianghu pouted, secretly thinking that he was just good at talking big. Having been together for so long, it's true that he couldn't bear to abandon Liya. Forget it, this brother for a lifetime, they'll follow him through the mountains of swords and seas of flames. Jianghu consoled himself in his heart. He followed up and asked, "Brotherly, where do you think the blood prison great saint we encountered before is now? He's an ascended being, is he looking for a sect to establish himself?" Liya casually answered, "Naturally, one person can't establish themselves in the immortal cultivation world. The Mahayana realm sounds strong, but it's not invincible. But with his ability, he is probably being revered by some sect now, living much better than the two of us brothers." Indeed. Jianghu clicked his tongue in amazement. Without a sect as a backing, he deeply understood how difficult it was for a person to wander the immortal cultivation world alone. The two chatted while advancing, the demonic clouds in the sky continued to spread, seemingly marching towards the entire mortal world like a calamity. Guan rode on the back of the blood prison great saint, heading towards the pavilion area. His divine sense already locked onto the depths of the demon land. Amid a desolate land, the ground cracked open, spreading like a spider web. Majestic demonic chi erupted from the earth's crevices, soaring to the sky, an awe-inspiring sight. It was as if a peerless evil demon was about to break out from the ground, creating a suffocating atmosphere between heaven and earth. Guan observed cultivators constructing a transmission array platform on a cliff about 50,000 miles from the place where the evil demon was breaking its seal. They probably belonged to the Seven Stars spirit realm, as Ji Xianling was among them. At this moment, Ji Xianling stood at the edge of the cliff, his brows furrowed. A woman in white walked up to him, smilingly asked, "What's the matter? Are you afraid?" Ji Xianling glanced at her indifferently. "No matter how strong the evil demon is, can it be stronger than Sword Venerable Fudao? I've been to the Supreme Sect. It's different. These two haven't fought, besides, you represented the 7-star spirit realm going to the supreme sect. Why would Sword Venerable Fudao attack you? The woman in white shook her head. Ji Xianling continued to look ahead, ignoring the woman in white. The woman in white added, Elder Lin is here too. He is a loose immortal. With his intervention, we should get through this tribulation. Elder Lin? Ji Zunling's brows furrowed again, his doubts growing stronger. The terrible conjecture seemed to be about to be confirmed. He always believed that the 7-star spirit realm was the true Holy Land and took pride in being born in the 7-star spirit realm. But recently, more and more things made him feel that the 7-star spirit realm harbored many unspeakable secrets, secrets that might shatter its holy name, driving him to the brink. What tortured him the most was that he guessed the truth but didn't dare to reveal it, and still had to follow orders. Rumble. The demonic clouds in the sky began to emit thunderous sounds, like ancient demon gods roaring, causing unrest among all beings. Guan watched for a long time. When the blood prison great saint returned to the pavilion, he dismounted. Although cultivators from all over the world were heading north, and even the demon clan was mobilizing troops towards the evil demon seal, he was not in a hurry. Better wait for the evil demon to revive before taking action. He suspected that the 7-star spirit realm wanted to eliminate the evil demon themselves to make a name for themselves, but he felt that the rising speed of the demonic chi might disrupt their plan. Unless the 7-star spirit realm dispatched a wandering immortal. Just right to use the evil demon to test the strength of the 7-star spirit realm on the continent. In the days following, news of the imminent revival of the evil demon spread wildly within the supreme sect, even reaching the disciples in Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. Guan could feel that the evil demon was about to break its seal ahead of time for some unknown reason. He didn't bother to speculate on the reason, as long as the evil demon didn't grow strong enough to exceed his control. Judging by the current pace of its chi rising, it would take another 100 years to pose a threat to Guan. The difference between heaven and earth flying immortal and wandering immortal was like the gap between mortals and immortals, not to mention that the evil demon had not yet reached the wandering immortal realm. The 7-star spirit realm side hadn't made a move yet, they were also waiting. Guan thought they would act only when the 3 Chao cultivators gathered, which would be their chance to make a name. In the blink of an eye. A month quickly passed, and a large number of 3 Chao cultivators had gathered where the 7-star spirit realm cultivators were stationed. The evil demon's chi had almost reached the wandering immortal realm, sending a chill down all cultivators' spines. Let alone scouting for information, they didn't even dare to send their divine senses into demon land. On the wasteland, the supreme sect cultivators gathered to build houses, with formations set up around the perimeter. LV Badian stood on a terrace, his gaze fixed on the distant cliff, where the 7-star spirit realm was stationed, isolated as a holy land, not mingling with the 3 Chao sections. All the sects gathered on the wasteland under the cliff, but the 7-star spirit realm remained aloof. Ji Hantian approached LV Badian, whispered, "There's still no sign of Xiantiani. Could he really have perished in demon land?" His brows furrowed. Xiantiani was a rare talent in the supreme sect in thousands of years and their strongest person on the surface. Losing Xiantiani would mean half of the supreme sect's foundation crumbling. Regardless, we must prepare for the possibility that he can't fight. LV Badian said solemnly. Ji Hantian looked at LV Badian, deep in thought. After a long while, he finally asked, "Sect leader, are you hiding something from me? If Xiantiani is really dead, how can you be so unperturbed? You are too calm." LV Badian shook his head and turned to go downstairs. In the distance, Leah led Zhang Buku into the supreme sect's encampment. Zhang Buku looked around, full of curiosity. "I heard the supreme sect started recruiting demon clan disciples. You should join later, I'll recommend you." Leah softly laughed. Zhang Buku asked, "Really?" He was visibly excited. Leah glanced at him, curiously asking, "Why so excited? When I introduced you to the cultivators of the Tsangtian sect, you weren't this thrilled." "Why?" Zhang Buku took a deep breath. "Truth be told, my father was an outer sect servant disciple of the supreme sect. Since childhood, I've heard tales of the supreme sect from him. Naturally, I yearn for it. Due to Zhang Buku's tragic background, Liya never asked much, afraid of saddening him. Today, hearing this, he couldn't help but ask, "What's your father's name?" By the way, I also started as an outer sect servant disciple. Maybe I knew your father. Zhang Buku turned his head. My father's name was Zhang Xianxia. What? Liya stopped in his tracks, staring at Zhang Buku in stunned surprise. Surprised, Zhang Buku asked, "Brother Li, you knew him?" First shocked, Liya then remembered that Zhang Buku's father had passed away. His mood dropped. Was your father a servant disciple in Medicine Valley? When I joined the valley, he was my senior brother. Liya said with mixed emotions. Zhang Buku was excited again. Really? I didn't expect we had such a connection. Right, you mentioned a martial uncle earlier. What's his name? Why didn't your father mention me? Liya asked. Just as he finished, his mind suddenly jolted. Wait. Isn't this messing up the seniority? Zhang Buku replied, "Martial uncle's name is Guan. Do you know him?" Junior brother Gu, Liya immediately realized. Indeed, back in Medicine Valley, senior brother Zhang Chunkia's favorite was junior brother Gu. Junior brother Gu was kind to everyone, universally liked. It's natural that senior brother Zhang Chuanxiu remembered him. Zhang Buku also realized, scratching his head, should I call you Martial Uncle Li? Forget it, brotherly flows better. Well, each stick to our own. Seeing his shameless expression, Liya felt somewhat vexed. They'd been calling each other brothers for years, it was hard to change now. After all, Zhang Buku only saw him, their previous relationship might as well not count. Zhang Buku nervously asked, "Brotherly, how's your relationship with Martial Uncle Gu?" Hearing this, Liya suddenly wanted to alter the relationship. He looked up, proudly smiled. Of course, we're the best of brothers. Really? Zhang Buku was overjoyed. Liya asked skeptically, "Why are you so curious about him? Have you seen him?" Of course, when I was young and my father hadn't yet passed, Martial Uncle Gu came to my house. He even brought me a top-grade spirit elixir. He's my only elder in this world. Zhang Buku said seriously. Only elder. Liya's mouth twitched. In that case, you'd better call me Martial Uncle. No way, well, each stick to our own. If junior brother Gu hears this, it'll be a joke. What? Last year when the Demon King nearly tore you apart, I risked my life to save you. Didn't you say we're brothers for life? Now you're denying it? Zhang Buku glared. They had already sworn brotherhood, how could he recognize his brother as a martial uncle? Liya opened his mouth, feeling somewhat stifled. Zhang Buku looked around, muttering, I wonder if Martial Uncle Gu is here. Liya sneered, he's just a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator, besides, he's timid. How could he be here? Foundation Establishment Realm? Zhang Buku was taken aback. He had seen Martial Uncle Gu slay demons. To be honest, he felt Martial Uncle Gu was stronger than Liya. But he had promised Martial Uncle Gu not to reveal his acts of heroism. So, he held back. Seeing Liya's expression, he clearly didn't know Martial Uncle Gu's true cultivation level. Such a proud person, if he knew the truth, had definitely hassled Martial Uncle Gu. Zhang Buku thought secretly, feeling rather delighted. Knowing Martial Uncle Gu's secret, did it mean Martial Uncle Gu saw him as closer? Chapter 203, The Evil Demon Breaks the Seal. It's him. Zhang Buku could not find Guan within the Supreme Sect's camp, as Guan was still busy planting seeds. He had come to the grotto heaven he had cultivated beforehand, scattering ordinary herb seeds to improve the soil. Once the matter with the evil demon was resolved, he planned to go overseas to buy a large number of high-rank medicinal herb seeds. Decades had passed, and Guan had accumulated a vast fortune, enough for him to spend lavishly. The demonic power from the north persisted, affecting all life. Wherever Guan went, he heard people worrying about it. Simultaneously, Guan overheard another discourse. Some were constantly advocating for the Holy Land, claiming that this calamity would not spread to the human realm with the Holy Land's intervention. Using his divine sense to cover the land of 3 dynasties, Guan saw many people specifically spreading this news. From the karma around them, he deduced they were entrusted by 7 stars spirit realm cultivators. Indeed, the Holy Land's means were far beyond the supreme sects. After witnessing how difficult it was to control the sword Venerable Fudao, the 7 stars spirit realm acted swiftly. Moreover, Guan noticed batches of cultivators landing from the sea, some among them even Nirvana realm great cultivators. They infiltrated the 3 dynasties to gather information. Some were investigating the sword Venerable Fudao, others the 7 stars spirit realm. Guan did not pay too much attention, as long as they didn't appear before him. Time continued to pass. About half a month later, as autumn drew to a close, Guan was riding the Blood Prison Great Saint, wandering around the 3rd Medicine Valley when his divine sense turned northward. The 7 stars spirit realm had begun to take action. Guan saw among them appearing a loose immortal, whose aura was no weaker than startling immortal Lin's, even without releasing his pressure. In the depths of the demon land, at the edge of the demon land. All disciples, prepare for battle. A bold voice resounded throughout the Supreme Sect's encampment, prompting all disciples to begin mobilizing. Not only the Supreme Sect but other sects were the same. The 7 stars spirit realm dispatched disciples to various sects, instructing on battle tactics. Even powerful sects like the Xianxia sect did not dare refuse, only complying, as the 7 stars spirit realm had great cultivators at the realm of immortal path. When the 7 stars spirit realm's cultivators flew toward the depths of the demon land like arrow showers, dozens of sects spread out, ready to encircle the demon land from different directions. And Hao, Liya, and Zhang Buku were among them. The Supreme Sect's mystic heart realm had only one representative, Ancestor Xian Quan. Other sects were the same, with even the strongest Sainthood sect only sending a Daoist lord, not even bringing any mystic heart realm great cultivators. They all knew the battle's key lay with the Holy Land. And Hao gazed at the backs of the 7 stars spirit realm cultivators, frowning deeply in thought. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators followed LV Badian in flight, everyone tense. Even with the Holy Land at the forefront, they still felt anxious, as the Holy Land had stated that the evil demon could not be completely eradicated by them. In the 7 stars spirit realm faction, Ji Zunling's eyes held complex emotions as he looked at the elder at the very front. That elder was the Lin family's loose immortal, named Ancestor Lin Lu, holding a high position within the 6 stars cave. Not only was his cultivation profound, but he himself had lived for nearly 10,000 years. Ancestor Lin Lu wore a large purple robe, his white hair bound beneath a coronet, and his weathered face exuded vitality with bright eyes, making him appear imposing. Suddenly, his eyes squinted, and in the direction he gazed upon, the barren earth ahead was riddled with fissures, black demonic chi seeping out, as if something extremely evil was breeding. Thunderclouds churned above, lightning flashing, casting a heavy atmosphere over everything. Ancestor Lin Lu raised his right hand, a golden umbrella appearing in his palm. He lifted it, and the golden umbrella flew over his head, swiftly shooting forward. In the blink of an eye, the golden umbrella flew to the most densely concentrated area of demonic chi, hovering 10,000 feet above the ground, near the thunderclouds. Boom! The golden umbrella suddenly opened, spreading golden rays of light, as if an immense power from another dimension shook the very sea of time, dispersing clouds and lightning, transforming the gloomy sky into something majestic and ethereal. Golden light poured down from the umbrella like a torrential rain, landing on the cracked ground, forming inscriptions that expanded rapidly, covering a 1,000-mile radius within 2 breaths and continuing to spread. The golden inscriptions suppressed the demonic chi emerging from the ground fissures. When the inscriptions stopped extending, their edges emitted golden light, shooting into the clouds and forming golden pillars, isolating 10,000 miles around, with the 3 dynasties sects positioned outside the golden barrier. What kind of magic artifact is that? It can form a formation by itself? Indeed powerful, this formation feels stronger than our sect-protecting array. No wonder it's the Holy Land, truly formidable. It seems the Holy Land plans to handle the evil demon alone. We just need to assist. That's good. Who wants to die? Discussions buzzed among the sect disciples, their reverence for the Holy Land rising rapidly. Ji Xianling looked up at the golden umbrella in the sky, uttering 4 words, "Loose immortal Dharma treasure." Ancestor Lin Lu accelerated alone, quickly arriving above a massive black hole. Looking down, he saw it was bottomless, with all the ground fissures extending from this pit. The demonic chi inside pushed against the golden mana, threatening to break through at any moment. 7 stars spirit realm, heh heh. A chilling voice echoed through the world, heard clearly by all cultivators outside the formation. On the Supreme Sect's side, numerous great cultivators' faces changed dramatically, including LV Badian, Ji Hantian, and Ancestor Xian Quan. And Hao's eyes widened, his expression incredulous. Senior Xian. Impossible, the voice was precisely that of Xian Tianyi. And Hao subconsciously looked toward LV Badian. Ever since LV Badian discovered the restriction on his back, he had strictly forbidden him from revealing it. LV Badian had also promised to handle the matter and never wrong Xian Tianyi. At this moment, LV Badian's face was dark. Ignoring An Hao's gaze, he stared intently at the depths of the demon land. Evil demon, after 10,000 years, you still haven't repented? Ancestor Lin Lu's voice rang out, calm yet pressing. Evil demon. All cultivators tensed, with those from various sects who had met Xian Tianyi furrowing their brows, frequently looking toward the Supreme Sect. Just then, the earth trembled violently. Ancestor Lin Lu remained unfazed. He raised his right hand, strengthening the formation. The demonic chi in the ground fissures grew more potent and frenzied, trying to shatter the golden inscriptions on the surface, as if countless vengeful demons were about to burst from the abyss. Mournful wails echoed throughout the world, sounding like both dragon and phoenix songs, and evil ghosts' howls, making everyone's hair stand on end. Boom! A terrifying force suddenly broke through the surface, shattering the golden inscriptions. Rolling demonic chi surged to the sky, merging with the thunderclouds and sending the golden umbrella flying. Ancestor Lin Lu was caught off guard, forced back by the overwhelming pressure. Stabilizing himself, he frowned, raised his hand, and cast a spell to steady the golden umbrella in the sky, then pulled out a long redwood sword. Hundreds of 7-star spirit realm cultivators spread out, surrounding the terrifying pillar of demonic chi, each taking out their magic artifacts. Ji Xianling wielded a large fan, with golden flames leaping from its 7 apertures. His gaze noticed a figure rising within the demonic chi pillar, causing his pupils to dilate suddenly. It's him. So it's all true. In the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan dismounted from the blood prison Great Saint's back. Instead of returning to his quarters, he turned and looked north. His brows furrowed, his eyes filled with coldness. His expression quickly changed. He retracted his gaze and prepared to go upstairs. At that moment, a figure flew in from afar. He stopped, turned, and saw Ji Xiaoyu swiftly approaching like a fairy descending from the sky before him. Guan saluted her, smilingly asking, "Third Miss, what brings you here?" Ji Xiaoyu raised her hand, revealing a jade pendant. "Leave this with you. Don't mention it to anyone. I will come back for it later." She tossed it to Guan and then turned to leave, as quickly as she came. Guan's divine sense scanned it as he nonchalantly put the jade pendant into his storage bag before turning to go upstairs. The jade pendant contained intelligence about the 7-star spirit realm. Why did Ji Xiaoyu give it to him? Could she have guessed something? Meanwhile, in the demon land, a figure stepped out from the roiling demonic chi. His appearance made Ji Zunling's face turn extremely grim, causing a stir among the Supreme Sect and disbelief in other sections. The figure emerging from the demonic chi was none other than Xian Tianyi. Xian Tianyi wore a black robe, his white hair fluttering wildly. His handsome face was pale, with deep red eye sockets, and his pupils seemed to swirl with demonic chi, appearing particularly sinister. He twisted his neck, raised his arms, and stretched his body. "Senior Xian." And Hao's voice echoed from afar as he tried to rush into the formation but was stopped. On the Zhangtian sect side, Daoist Lord frowned, calculating with his fingers. Sect Master Liang Zhanghai also frowned deeply, filled with confusion. How could this be? The Taoist of immortality from Three Pure Ones Mountain couldn't help but look at Ancestor Lin Lu, his eyes full of meaning. Discussions buzzed among the sects, and soon, Xiantiani's identity spread. A supreme sect Mahayana realm cultivator had turned into an evil demon? This revelation shocked everyone. Once, during the demonic invasion, Xiantiani had achieved great feats, earning the respect of cultivators worldwide. Ancestor Lin Lu stared at the evil demon, speaking coldly, "Evil demon, you dare possess a human Mahayana realm cultivator? You seek death." His voice rumbled like thunder, echoing through the heavens, heard by all. Xiantiani turned to him, eyes icy, and sneered, "Noisy." As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his sleeve at Ancestor Lin Lu, releasing the terrifying power of a ninth-layer loose immortal, obliterating the golden inscriptions on the ground. Ancestor Lin Lu's spellcasting tried to block it, but he was still forced back. Thousands of miles away, the golden light from the formation was shattered, sending tens of thousands of sect disciples flying, with countless casualties. "You," Ancestor Lin Lu glared at Xiantiani, his tone filled with shock and anger. What was happening? Their cultivation? Before he could think further, Xiantiani raised his hand, palm facing the sky, with a wild smile on his face. He grabbed with his right hand and yanked downward. The thunderclouds in the sky collapsed instantly, the terrifying pressure causing all cultivators outside the formation to plummet to the ground, and the earth trembled. Chapter 204 Above Loose Immortal. Xiantiani merely grabbed out with his hand, but it gave all the cultivators a sense of the sky falling, with the heavens shaking and the earth roaring, reverberating in everyone's ears. The cultivators of the seven-star spirit realm also fought desperately to resist. Although their cultivation was high, it was only impressive compared to the cultivators outside the formation. Before Xiantiani, they were insignificant. Rumble. The earth continuously shattered, overwhelming demonic energy surged forth like a volcanic eruption, and countless lightning bolts intertwined like dragons and snakes, converging in the palm of Xiantiani's right hand. At this moment, Xiantiani's momentum reached its peak, white hair wildly fluttered, a madman expression, as if a demonic god had descended upon the world. Ancestor Lin Lu steadied himself and quickly cast spells with both hands, pushing forward with a palm strike, the mana like a dragon emerging from the abyss, carrying the spiritual energy of the heavens and earth, fire and wind intertwined, sweeping across the shattered earth, heading straight for Xiantiani. In the face of this mana, everything in the world seemed insignificant. Xiantiani raised his hand. Facing the vast tide of wind and fire, he blocked it with one palm, causing the raging wind and fire to split apart, forming countless fire dragons scattering in all directions. Form the array, exterminate the demon. Ancestor Lin Lu roared angrily, and the other seven-star spirit realm cultivators leaped away, distancing themselves from Xiantiani. Suddenly, the rolling dust behind Ancestor Lin Lu was scattered, and Xiantiani stepped behind him, standing sideways. Xiantiani's eyes were filled with killing intent. With one palm strike, his hand ignited with demonic flames, penetrating Ancestor Lin Lu's chest, splattering blood. Ancestor Lin Lu's eyes widened with a look of shock and anger. Xiantiani lifted his arm, following up with a dive, slamming Ancestor Lin Lu, who was impaled on his arm, into the shattered ground. He then began to wildly swing him around, causing the seven-star spirit realm cultivators to panic, and the great cultivators from distant sects were horrified. The evil demon, though not as exaggerated in size as the demon ancestors or great demon kings, exuded an even more intimidating presence. Ancestor Lin Lu transformed into a blood mist. In an instant, his body reappeared dozens of miles away, covered in blood, with his robe tattered, no longer composed as before. Xiantiani stepped out from the blood mist. As he looked up, countless sword shadows emitting silver light descended from the sky, engulfing him in an instant, causing dust to rise like a dragon swallowing the sky. Boom. 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 Countless sword shadows bombarded the ground, causing the entire earth to tremble violently. The ones casting the spells were dozens of 7-star spirit realm sword cultivators. They floated high in the sky, each with their treasure sword inverted in front of them, the blades vibrating with a clear and piercing sound. Watching the formidable sword array of the 7-star spirit realm, the cultivators of various sects were elated. They retreated one after another, distancing themselves from the battlefield. The difference in cultivation levels was too great. Even flying was difficult, so they had to expand the encirclement. LV Badian grabbed and Hao and quickly retreated. "Master, is there no hope?" And Hao looked at LV Badian, gritting his teeth. Hearing that Xiantiani had been possessed, his heart ached terribly. LV Badian gazed at the chaotic and terrifying battlefield in the distance, speaking in a solemn tone, "The urgent task now is to eliminate the demon." Liya and Zhang Buku were also retreating. Their cultivation level was too low. Facing Xiantiani's demonic power, they felt suffocated. "Brotherly, there's no way to take advantage of this situation," Zhang Buku whispered urgently. He felt that the Holy Land was not containing the evil demon. Liya didn't speak. He was equally nervous. In his eyes, the Holy Land was the most powerful force in the world. With the Holy Land leading the way, their pressure should be less. But once the evil demon appeared, the situation was completely reversed, and even the mighty Holy Land was being suppressed. On the other side, Ancestor Lin Lu flew high into the sky, taking out various magic artifacts. While forming an array, he cast spells to attack Xiantiani. "What's going on? He shouldn't be this strong," Ancestor Lin Lu thought fearfully. He could feel that Xiantiani was still growing stronger, even challenging a higher realm. The realm above Lu's immortal. In the 6 Stars cave, there was only one person in that realm, and that person was not on the continent. After reaching the realm of immortal path, most cultivators would not stay on the continent. He usually roamed the oceans and would not have returned if not for the family incident. Before he could think further, a surge of demonic energy burst from beneath the sword array, scattering it. Dozens of 7-star spirit realm sword cultivators spat blood and were sent flying. This demonic energy, like a blade, pierced through the sky, aimed at Ancestor Lin Lu. Too fast. It was so fast that Ancestor Lin Lu couldn't dodge and could only instinctively use mana to defend. Boom, his figure was engulfed by demonic energy, and the clouds in the sky were also pierced. As the demonic energy dissipated, sunlight shone through the gap in the clouds. All of the magic artifacts in front of Ancestor Lin Lu shattered, and though he barely managed to block it, he was covered in blood, looking miserable. He was also at the Lu's immortal realm, and at the 8th floor of cultivation, but before Xiantiani, he was defenseless. "Damn it," Ancestor Lin Lu roared, his mana bursting from within, further shattering the ground below. Earth spirit energy surged up like a celestial screen, covering hundreds of miles, grand and majestic, engulfing his figure. Xiantiani suddenly appeared behind one of the 7-star spirit realm cultivators, grabbing his head. The cultivator's face showed terror. Before he could resist, Xiantiani directly extracted his soul, opening his mouth to forcibly devour it. He then released his right hand, and the soulless cultivator collapsed to the ground. This scene terrified the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators, who fled in panic. Xiantiani immediately disappeared and reappeared behind a female cultivator, grabbing her head and devouring her soul. These Mahayana cultivators had no chance to resist in his presence. Boom, a gust of wind came, and Xiantiani instinctively turned his head. He saw beam after beam of green light phantoms rushing out of the spiritual energy curtain covering half the sky. Each held different forms of magic artifacts, stood 100 feet tall, and looked like celestial soldiers from another world, unstoppable. The 3rd Medicine Valley. Guan sat at his desk, practicing calligraphy while watching the battle. Possessed by the evil demon, Xiantiani suppressed the 7-star spirit realm alone. That Lu's immortal constantly displayed divine skills, shaking the heavens and earth, but was unable to harm Xiantiani. Instead, he watched as Xiantiani continuously devoured souls. Guan sensed that 10 loose immortals were heading to the battlefield, flying in from the northern coast of the continent with great speed. They should be reinforcements for the 7-star spirit realm. Strange, there is still Xiantiani's soul aura within him. It doesn't seem like possession, but the two are so perfectly integrated, it's as if they were originally one, Guan wondered. He initially planned to act once the evil demon broke free, but he had to wait because of Xiantiani. The 7-star spirit realm intended to use the evil demon to bolster their holy land's prestige while luring Xiantiani into a trap, weakening the supreme sect's explicit power and reputation. It was truly sinister. But the evil demon was on the verge of breaking through to Wandering Immortal, which shouldn't have been part of the 7-star spirit realm's plan. Otherwise, Ancestor Lin Lu wouldn't have acted early, forcing the evil demon to break free prematurely. The variable was Xiantiani. Xiantiani seemed to have additional secrets unknown to others. Thinking carefully, Xiantiani's talent didn't seem trainable by the Supreme Sect, and his growth didn't involve training in the 7-star spirit realm but rather heading south instead. In any case, Guan was determined to rescue Xiantiani. Now the 7-star spirit realm found itself in a difficult situation, and it was perfect to use the evil demon to weaken the realm's power and prestige. At the very least, let the other sects know that the 7-star spirit realm was not invincible. Gu An's eyes turned subtle when he saw Xiantiani spared Ji Xianling. Besides Ancestor Lin Lu and Ji Xianling, all the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators had their souls devoured, leaving only their shells. Without anyone to restrain him, Ancestor Lin Lu was no match for Xiantiani either. Being in the same realm, it would be difficult for Xiantiani to completely kill Ancestor Lin Lu in a short time. Suddenly, Xiantiani drilled deep into the ground. As soon as he disappeared, the 10 loose immortals arrived. In the battlefield of the demon land, the world turned dark, and the land was buried in overwhelming dust, resembling the early chaos of creation. Ancestor Lin Lu looked around at his fellow disciples and said solemnly, "He's about to break through to Wandering Immortal." Upon hearing these words, the 10 loose immortals' faces changed dramatically. Without needing further orders, they all plunged into the ground fissures, chasing after Xiantiani. Ancestor Lin Lu took out an elixir and swallowed it, then began cultivating energy midair to heal. His face was grim, filled with fear. The Lin family had already lost startling immortal Lin, the most talented family member in history, and their plans involving the 7-star spirit realm were nearly exposed. He came this time to redeem himself, but hadn't expected the evil demon to be so powerful. 10,000 years ago, the evil demon had just reached the loose immortal realm. How was he so strong now? Was there another's influence behind the evil demon? His first thought was Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao could easily kill a loose immortal and was likely a wandering immortal. The 6 Stars Cave had only one wandering immortal, and without knowing Sword Venerable Fudao's true identity, they did not dare act rashly. Could Sword Venerable Fudao be someone from a great sect at sea, specifically targeting the 7-star spirit realm? 300 years ago, we shouldn't have let the ephemera sect in. Ancestor Lin Lu hated bitterly. The 6 Stars Cave had numerous factions and his family couldn't dominate. But now, the main loss fell on the Lin family. The disciples just devoured, most came from the Lin family, how could he not hate? At the same time, the Supreme Sect and other sects had retreated 10,000 miles away, sensing only 2 auras of 7-star spirit realm cultivators, making them even more afraid. Even the Holy Land can't suppress the evil demon? Without the Holy Land, we would have been dead already. The Holy Land does live up to its name, but its foundation is, could we ultimately rely on Sword Venerable Fudao? I suspect he'll only act when the evil demon reaches the 3 dynasties border. We're truly useless, always troubling him, the cultivators discussed, while the Supreme Sect remained somber. Xiantiani being possessed by the evil demon was a huge blow to their morale. LV Badian looked into the distance, his face dark and eyes flashing. And Hao had calmed down, waiting for the outcome. He hadn't yet connected Xiantiani's plight to the Holy Land, only cared for Xiantiani's safety. However, it didn't take long before an even more terrifying demonic energy erupted from the ground, startling everyone. Chapter 205, Majestic Divine Might, Wandering Immortal Arrives Rumble. The sky above the Supreme Sect was covered by rolling thunderclouds, as if a storm was about to break. The sky changed so quickly that the disciples who were still busy in the Third Medicine Valley hurried their tasks. Guan descended from the pavilion, feeling that Xiantiani had already half-stepped into the wandering immortal realm, which made him very interested in the sealing ground of the evil demon. What exactly was hidden below? It could actually allow the evil demon to break through in one fell swoop. There must be a secret down below. Could it be that the evil demon also had the ability to evolve lifespan cultivation? Guan's mind wandered, and he was already prepared to take action. Once Xiantiani dealt with the 11 loose immortals of the 7 stars spirit realm, he would make his move. He could feel the heavenly might condensing in the sky above the battlefield, signifying that Xiantiani was about to face the tribulation. TSK, is the tribulation range of a loose immortal this large? Guan looked at the thunderclouds in the sky and thought silently. This gave him a clearer concept of the celestial tribulation of the immortal path. The tribulation of the evil demon had covered the entire continent, showing just how exaggerated the power of the tribulation was. If the tribulation from loose immortal to wandering immortal was already like this, then what kind of power would the tribulation from wandering immortal to heaven and earth flying immortal be? The aura of a distant loose immortal suddenly disappeared. It seemed he had died at Xiantiani's hands. With the first, there would be a second. The successive deaths of 2 loose immortals made ancestor Lin Lu, who was healing, unable to remain calm. He immediately rushed into the underground to support. Guan observed the tribulation. He could feel the spiritual power of the 5 elements in the heaven and earth gathering toward the thunderclouds above, rushing toward the crossing site at an extremely fast speed after entering the clouds. The spiritual power of the 5 elements in heaven and earth thus gathered together to accumulate heavenly might. The 3rd loose immortal fell. After devouring the souls of the loose immortals, Xiantiani's momentum soared. Vaguely, Guan felt 2 strands of demonic qi surging within one body. Could it be that Xiantiani and the evil demon were vying for control of the body? Guan silently thought, keeping a cautious attitude. If Xiantiani's soul was about to collapse, he would immediately take action. For mortals, the distance from the Supreme Sect to the Demon Land was a lifelong journey that could never be covered, but for Guan, it only took one step. The disciples in the valley began to gather, discussing what the thunderclouds in the sky portended. Lu Lingjun still stayed within the pavilion, cultivating, seemingly unconcerned about the calamity outside. Since returning, she had been in closed cultivation and had not left the room. Rumble, watching the lightning and thunder in the sky, the cultivators of the Supreme Sect were extremely tense because they felt they were also within the scope of the celestial tribulation and might be affected. Liang Canghai was decisive and immediately ordered the disciples to retreat. After all, they couldn't help the 7 stars spirit realm, it was better to preserve themselves. Their presence here was at the call of the 7 stars spirit realm. Otherwise, the safest option would be to guard the borders of the 3 dynasties, where they could gather more strength. LV Badian also led the disciples in retreat, and at that moment, Ji Hantian approached him. I suddenly remembered that Xiantiani had gone demonic in his youth, Ji Hantian whispered. LV Badian glanced at him, his gaze cold, scaring him into immediate silence. Ji Hantian spoke with some grievance. I thought you two were at odds. So all these years had been an act for me? LV Badian was the sect leader, and he was the vice sect leader. He also had the ambition to be sect leader, but above them was Xiantiani, who many elders supported for the position of sect leader. As such, he naturally harbored no good feelings towards Xiantiani. It so happened that LV Badian once found him, complaining about Xiantiani, which quickly won his favor. Because of Xiantiani, the two formed a better bond. Whenever LV Badian shirked his duties, he would work hard because LV Badian promised that if he stepped down, he would choose him. Of course, all this was about vying for power. On a day-to-day basis, the three of them, as fellow disciples, greeted each other amicably. Talking nonsense, is now the time to discuss this? LV Badian said in a deep voice, cutting off Ji Hantian. Boom, a deafening sound came from behind, startling the two into turning their heads. The distance was too far for them to see what had happened, but the horrifying demonic might of the evil demon made them tremble in fear. At that moment, a disciple cried out, "Look at the sky." Everyone looked up, astonished to find that the thunderclouds in the sky had reflected a scene of the demon land. Figures moved as swiftly as lightning, dazzling everyone. Those exaggerated spells and divine skills were even more shocking to every cultivator's eyes. Various factions began to slow down, retreating while watching the battle unfold. And Hao, Liya, and Zhang Buku did the same. Zhang Buku's eyes were full of longing. Could he reach such a realm in his lifetime? And Hao's eyes were full of concern and worry. He always believed that there was still hope for Xiantiani to break free from the evil demon. Under the watchful eyes of all the cultivators, whenever Xiantiani stopped to devour a soul, the scene in the sky would focus on him, zooming in, showing everyone the chilling process of him consuming the souls of the loose immortals. Xiantiani's face displayed two different expressions, arrogance and cruelty on the left, frowning and pain on the right. This made him look even more bizarre. Time continued to pass. In the end, only ancestor Lin Lu remained alive. Seeing the last loose immortal companion's soul drawn out, he completely gave up on resisting. He tried to escape, but Xiantiani caught him, and this time, he could not escape Xiantiani's grasp. "You can't," ancestor Lin Lu trembled, his primordial spirit unable to leave his body, his physical form unable to use divine skills, and his chi unable to break free from the hand above his head. Sadly, before he could finish his words, he collapsed to the ground. Xiantiani swallowed his soul, soared into the sky, sat cross-legged in mid-air, constantly rising. When he stopped, beneath him was a vast wave of dust like a dragon, seemingly engulfing the entire world. The illusions in the sky continued to expand, eventually covering the entire continent. Wherever there were people or demons, they were frightened, discussing who the figure in the sky was. Transformed into the evil demon, Xiantiani deeply imprinted himself in the hearts of all beings. The disciples of the Third Medicine Valley discussed in astonishment. Some remembered Xiantiani, finding it hard to believe. Guan turned and walked toward the transmission array platform. The blood prison great saint lay on the ground, watching the spectacle. As expected of the great heavenly spirit land. This tribulation is too exaggerated, and this evil demon looks so powerful, the blood prison great saint thought to himself. He was not at all flustered, after all, he was a prisoner. His gaze unconsciously followed Guan, seeing him teleport away. He didn't mind, thinking Guan was going to take care of the Mystic Valley. After arriving at the Mystic Valley, Guan simply inspected it briefly before leaving. As the great battle ended, the only sound left in heaven and earth was thunder. The cultivators of the three dynasties factions all paused. The leaders from each faction gathered to discuss their next move. They could all see that the evil demon was undergoing a tribulation. If the evil demon succeeded in the tribulation, the situation would become even worse. But with the complete annihilation of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, what could they do? Someone complained, "There are so many cultivators in the Holy Land, yet they sent only so few of us here. Isn't this courting death?" Every 100 years, geniuses from various factions would go to the Seven Stars Spirit Realm for cultivation. They knew that the Seven Stars Spirit Realm far exceeded this number of people. Not only was the Seven Stars Spirit Realm sparsely populated, but they even called them to die here. It wasn't just one person, others also resented the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. No matter how nicely the Seven Stars Spirit Realm spoke, these were old monsters who lived for hundreds, even thousands of years, not easily swayed by sweet talk. They judged the Seven Stars Spirit Realm by its actions. Liang Canghai took a deep breath and said, "All right, now the urgent task is how we might stop the evil demon's tribulation." Everyone fell into silence. The gap in realms was too vast, they had no chance of winning. Daoist Lord suddenly said, I foresee that the fate of the 3 dynasties has not yet run out. Perhaps there will be a turn of events. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm, after all, is an ancient holy land. Having lost so many people, they will not let it go easily. As soon as he spoke, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They trusted the Daoist Lord greatly. LV Badian said nothing, his gaze fixed on the illusions in the sky. Time flew by, and those who came to fight felt agony. The people of the 3 dynasties were even more tense, watching the demon go through the tribulation, guessing what might happen next. Some even prayed for Xiantiani to fail the tribulation. And Hao sat cross-legged on the ground, both restoring his spiritual energy and keeping a close watch on the sky. Zhang Buku and Li Ye did the same, though they were more curious about Xiantiani's actual realm, finding the tribulation's momentum excessively exaggerated. On the other side, suspended high in the sky, Xiantiani was surrounded by demonic qi. The demonic qi from the underground pierced through the dust of heaven and earth, entering his body, continuously boosting his momentum. Xiantiani, have you forgotten you consider yourself a hero of the righteous path? A voice rang out in fury and alarm. From the dust wave emerged the disheveled Ji Xianling, shouting angrily at Xiantiani. Xiantiani's right eye opened, his brow furrowed, half his face showing a struggling expression. At that moment, his other eye opened, glancing at Ji Xianling with a gaze full of soul-chilling murderous intent, making Ji Zunling's heart quake. Xiantiani's lips quivered slightly, laboriously uttering 2 words, run, away. As soon as he finished speaking, his right eye closed, and his entire face's expression returned to a unified look of cruelty and malevolence. He raised his right hand, aiming at Ji Xianling. Innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation. To think you, fiend, can undergo one of the top 10 tribulations of all time. A voice, like that of a heavenly god, resounded throughout the continent, shaking all beings to their core. Anyone who heard this voice was instinctively filled with awe. Ji Xianling instinctively turned his head, seeing a massive hole suddenly form in the thunderclouds above. A figure shining brightly descended from the sky, pressing the 2 of them down, scattering the boundless dust waves on the ground. Boom! Xiantiani sat on the ground, the ruins within a 100-mile radius collapsing, forming a massive circular pit. A figure descended in front of Xiantiani, causing him to look up in fear. For the first time, he showed such an expression. Chapter 206, Domineering. Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xianling also fell to the ground, but unlike Xiantiani, he did not bear the overwhelming pressure that surpassed a loose immortal. After landing, he only staggered a few steps. He quickly raised his eyes to look, his gaze locked on the mysterious figure in front of Xiantiani. It was a figure shining with a strong light, and he recognized the identity of the other person at a glance. Cave Master! Ji Xianling exclaimed in surprise. The Cave Master of 6 Stars Cave, Divine Soul True Lord. The Divine Soul True Lord stood tall, draped in a wide, black robe, with white clothes cinched with gold thread underneath, and a jade-adorned green silk belt. His black hair was coiled with 3 small swords. His expression was cold, and he looked down at the seated Xiantiani with eyes so frigid they seemed to freeze time. The illusion in the sky mirrored Xiantiani's figure while also reflecting the image of the Divine Soul True Lord, allowing everyone in the world to see his true appearance. Even the most esteemed great cultivators instinctively revered the Divine Soul True Lord at first sight. Just by standing there, the Divine Soul True Lord exuded an invincible aura. The people of the world were even more encouraged. The invincible evil demon cowered before the Divine Soul True Lord, all his previously established terrifying aura completely gone, now appearing so weak. Xiantiani did not want to stand up, but he simply could not. The gap between a loose immortal and a wandering immortal was as vast as the difference between clouds and mud. Xiantiani looked at the Divine Soul True Lord in terror, a look of pleading in his eyes. Thousands of miles away. And Hao looked at the illusion in the sky showing the divine soul true lord and panicked immediately. Under his watchful gaze, the divine soul true lord raised his right hand, and his imposing voice echoed across the entire continent. Today, I, the true lord, will execute the demon for the sake of all living beings. His voice, akin to a god's, reverberated with rolling thunder. No, and Hao shouted with all his might, immediately wanting to leap up to intervene. Almost instantly, he felt a tap on his shoulder, causing all his spiritual power to dissipate, rendering him unable to fly up. Zhang Buku, Liya, and many disciples of the Supreme Sect glimpsed a shadow so fast they thought it was a hallucination. After speaking, the divine soul true lord prepared to finish Xiantiani with a single palm strike. Ji Zunling's face changed drastically as he opened his mouth to plead. Smack! Suddenly, a hand pressed down on the divine soul true lord's shoulder, dispersing the bright light on him, altering his expression and halting his right palm. Xiantiani also saw someone suddenly appear behind the divine soul true lord, his expression changing dramatically as he struggled visibly. Ji Xianling gaped in shock, staring at the person behind the divine soul true lord. At this moment, all living beings saw the person behind the divine soul true lord in the sky. In the third medicine valley. Lu Lingjun pushed open the door, just in time to see the illusion in the sky, her expression changing accordingly. Outer Gate City, Heavenly Repair Platform. Standing beside the heaven-cutting axe, Zui Yijian looked up at the sky and murmured, Sword Venerable Fudao. In the distance, Di Xia also recognized the mysterious figure, growing nervous immediately. Sword Venerable Fudao was going to confront the 7 Stars Spirit Realms expert? And Hao, upon seeing Sword Venerable Fudao's figure, became excited, clenching his fists tightly. He thought it was his master who finally came to help him out of reluctance. Liya also became excited, the patriarch had actually come. Zhang Buku was simply curious about who had suddenly arrived. LV Badian, looking at the sky, visibly sighed in relief. The leaders of other sects were stunned, not understanding why Sword Venerable Fudao had intervened. In the illusion in the sky, the divine soul true lord slowly lowered his right hand, glancing back and asking, Could it be that you are the Sword Venerable Fudao who recently made a name for himself throughout the land? Behind him stood a demonic shadow, shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, mysterious and ominous. Guan suddenly pulled him behind and then stepped forward. The divine soul true lord's expression changed dramatically, and his body involuntarily recoiled. Guan stepped forward to stand before Xiantiani, extending his right hand, pointing 2 fingers at Xiantiani's forehead. The magic of heaven and earth flying immortal erupted, forcibly expelling the demon soul from Xiantiani's body, dispersing the demonic chi, making Xiantiani grimace in pain. This scene shocked everyone in the world. This wasn't the evil demon? Everyone saw a demonic shadow emerge from Xiantiani, identical to his form. Before the evil demon could resist, Gu An's right hand opened, swiftly grabbing it and capturing it in his palm. The demonic pressure that shrouded the continent disappeared instantly, leaving everyone feeling inexplicably relieved, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their hearts. You, the divine soul true lord, was enraged. As the cave master of 6 Stars Cave, he naturally knew the evil demon's true origin. Though not personally leading it, he had allowed it. Sword Venerable Fudao was slapping him in the face. Guan turned and stood side-on to the divine soul true lord. Xiantiani spat out blood, collapsing forward, his forehead landing on Gu An's thigh. Before closing his eyes, he weakly uttered, Fudao. He collapsed by Gu An's leg, his consciousness plunging into darkness. Sword Venerable Fudao made no sound, allowing him to lie there, calmly staring at the divine soul true lord. The people of the world held their breaths. Everyone could feel the standoff between the divine soul true lord and Sword Venerable Fudao, recognizing that Sword Venerable Fudao had come to save the one possessed by the evil demon. No. More accurately, to save the one possessed by the evil demon. The world fell silent. Even the great cultivators near Demon Land were incredibly tense, not daring to breathe loudly. Blood Prison Great Saint, lying on the ground, looked at Gu An's figure, eyes full of admiration. Such domination. Without saying a word, everyone could feel his strong intent. Blood Prison Great Saint suddenly felt his past self was incredibly weak. Always boasting, but compared to the great cultivator of the upper realm, his spirit fell short by miles. Not just him, everyone else felt the divine soul true lord had fallen to a lower position. This mysterious figure effortlessly pulled the divine soul true lord away and scared him into inaction. Their abilities were clearly unmatched. Ji Xianling, closest to them, was utterly shocked. He knew better than anyone the power of the divine soul true lord. In the 7 stars spirit realm, centered around 6 stars cave, the divine soul true lord was as divine as an immortal to them, representing the continent's strongest being. Such an existence was easily pulled away by Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xianling finally understood why the 7 stars spirit realm had suddenly changed their mind and decided to come forth to save the people. They feared Sword Venerable Fudao and wanted to restore their image. The divine soul true lord's face was extremely grim, caught in an inner struggle between choices. He had intended to use the anomaly of this innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation to showcase his grand and heroic image of saving all living beings. But now, he found himself in a difficult position. If he acted, he couldn't be sure of winning, plus what would the world think of him? If he didn't act, how would the world view the 7 stars spirit realm? Who exactly are you? Do not say you're from the Supreme Sect. This land could not possibly spawn someone as powerful as you. The divine soul true lord asked solemnly, this time, not letting his voice echo across the continent, only audible to himself, Guan and Ji Xianling. Guan did not answer him but raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at his face. Somehow, facing Gu An's fingertip, the divine soul true lord felt fear. Too overbearing. The other party didn't want to converse, only conveying one message, for him to back off. Otherwise, the divine soul true lord realized that, given the unmatched power of the other party, he might very well die. He was, after all, a wandering immortal. Not only on this continent but across the nearby sea areas, his cultivation level was among the top. In an instant, many thoughts crossed the divine soul true lord's mind. Finally, he coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves, and disappeared within a few steps. He left gracefully, yet in the people's eyes, it was a stance of fear, no matter how upright his posture was. The reason Guan didn't kill the divine soul true lord was that the world was watching, and a public execution would not be good. Firstly, because the 7 stars spirit realm was a holy land here to save the world, and secondly, to avoid drawing other great cultivators from the star caves. However, sometimes, not killing had a greater deterrent effect than killing. Not killing could both instill fear and leave room for the opponent to fantasize. Killing meant a never-ending vendetta. Guan looked up. The celestial might was dispersing. With the evil demon gone and unable to cross the tribulation, the heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't continue. He then vanished from the spot. Xian Tianyi, leaning against Gu An's leg, fell forward, and Ji Xianling appeared out of thin air, catching him before his forehead hit the ground. Seeing this, LV Badian immediately called for Supreme Sect disciples to follow him to rescue. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators flew up all at once, fearless, every one of them with excitement written on their faces. With Sword Venerable Fudao present, what did they have to fear? Leaders from other sects exchanged glances. The situation had exceeded their expectations, too much information challenging their understanding. Liang Canghai took a deep breath and said, the 3 dynasties advance and retreat together. With that, he immediately flew towards Sainthood's sect. Other sect leaders snapped out of it and went to give orders. Winning over Sword Venerable Fudao had become their most important task in years. The recent confrontation only solidified this belief. Sword Venerable Fudao turned out to be stronger than the Holy Land. In the 3rd Medicine Valley, Lu Lingjun watched as the illusions in the sky gradually dispersed, pulling her thoughts back to reality. Instinctively, she wanted to find Guan to discuss her observations from the battle but realized his presence was not in the valley. She unconsciously scanned Mystic Valley with her divine sense, finding Guan among the mountain woods nearby, inspecting medicinal herbs, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She showed a helpless smile. Such a great spectacle ignored, all he worried about were his plants. Truly hopeless. Elsewhere. In the inner sect city, Ji Xiaoyu stood on the eaves, glancing up at the sky. Even as the illusion started to fade, she did not avert her gaze. She hadn't seen the divine soul true lord before but could feel his high status within the 7 stars spirit realm. Such a powerful being was forced to retreat by Sword Venerable Fudao. Her eyes filled with complexity. Sword Venerable Fudao, who exactly are you? After this battle, she guessed the 7 stars spirit realm would have to humble themselves. Before Sword Venerable Fudao came along, the 7 stars spirit realm wouldn't dare to commit blatant evil, let alone now. However, the 7 stars spirit realm would surely frantically investigate Sword Venerable Fudao, and the Ji family from the supreme sect would become their tool. Patriarch, was this outcome within your expectation? Ji Xiaoyu's lips curled into a smile as she turned to leave. Just as she turned, the inner sect city erupted in thunderous cheers. One city was but a microcosm of the world. The entire world erupted into a feverish celebration. Chapter 207. Like Panan over the ocean, Divine Soul True Lord sat on a huge gourd, his arms crossed in front of his chest as the sea breeze blew his hair. He closed his eyes, frowning deeply. The more he thought, the angrier and more restless he became. After this battle, the prestige of the Holy Land would surely plummet. How could he not be angry? He just couldn't judge Sword Venerable Fudao's attitude towards the 7-star spiritual realm. For now, Sword Venerable Fudao did not seem hostile towards the 7-star spiritual realm. The previous Lin Jingxian killed himself, and Ji Xianling went to the supreme sect without incident. This time was no different. Sword Venerable Fudao only pushed him back and did not strike a killing blow. He couldn't tell if Sword Venerable Fudao feared the 7-star spiritual realm or had no killing intent from the start. In fact, when the evil demon attacked the wandering immortal realm, Divine Soul True Lord had sensed it but deliberately did not intervene. He allowed the Lin family loose immortal and disciples to be devoured by the evil demon to create a more terrifying image of the evil demon. The stronger the evil demon, the more prestige he would gain by exterminating it. Secondly, he wanted to use this opportunity to eliminate the Lin family, thus removing the cause and effect of offending Sword Venerable Fudao. Had he succeeded, the 7-star spiritual realm would have maintained the prestige of the Holy Land while resolving any grudges with Sword Venerable Fudao, achieving a perfect outcome. But things went wrong. Sword Venerable Fudao acted ahead of schedule. It seems Sword Venerable Fudao is related to Xiantiani. Could he be from the Starseed congregations? The more he thought about it, the more likely Divine Soul True Lord found this possibility. Before Xiantiani joined the Starseed congregations, the Supreme Sect did not have such a great cultivator. He speculated that Xiantiani, knowing the demon disaster was imminent, had asked Sword Venerable Fudao for support in advance. That's right. It must be so. Divine Soul True Lord had heard that Xiantiani wrote a book entitled The Legend of Sword Venerable. He raised his right hand and took out a token, hesitating for a moment before probing it with his divine sense. Soon, he sensed a wave of divine sense from the token, and began to relay what had happened, along with his speculations. After a while, his face turned grim as he was obviously reprimanded. In the forest of Mystic Valley, Guan silently pondered. Ever since Divine Soul True Lord had left, his divine sense had been following him, preventing any unforeseen events. Seeing Divine Soul True Lord take out the token, Guan could guess he was contacting someone more powerful from the 7-star spiritual realm. Once Divine Soul True Lord placed the token back into his storage ring, Guan exhaled a long breath, his eyes growing cold. Judging by his expression, Guan hesitated. The lifespan foresight could only determine whether others had ill intentions towards his true form, while the 9 extremes yin-yang body could conceal his true form and obscure karmic calculations unless the other person linked Sword Venerable Fudao directly to his true form and harbored enmity. The mountain god's little figure had resembled Gu An's true form closely, without any divine skills to cloak it, which was why he could sense it. And the hateful heaven ancestor had discovered him directly through sword intent. After 30 minutes, Divine Soul True Lord landed on an island. As he entered a cave, Guan sensed a restriction and stopped following. Just remember this island. Guan stood up and walked back to Mystic Valley. The disciples in the valley were still excitedly discussing the sky illusion they had witnessed earlier, the image of Sword Venerable Fudao deeply ingraining in their minds. They also believed that the entity confronting Divine Soul True Lord was indeed Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan joined them, chatting for a while. The impact of this battle was even greater than when Sword Venerable Fudao killed the demon ancestor, not only because peace prevailed after defeating the evil demon, but also because it involved the Holy Land. When Guan returned to the third Medicine Valley, the disciples were gathered noisily, like in a busy market. Lu Lingjun, who had been waiting for him, pulled him into a pavilion, excitedly talking about Sword Venerable Fudao. Seeing her admire Sword Venerable Fudao so much filled Guan with satisfaction. He had to feign excitement and reciprocate the emotional value. For the next month, the Supreme Sect was in constant uproar, everyone full of excitement, various news spreading wildly within the sect. Guan went to the outer gates city twice, each time staying for 2 ancient hours, listening to the disciples on the streets praise Sword Venerable Fudao. It was worth noting that within this month, Guan noticed more cultivators arriving from the sea, some even in the realm of Immortal Path, spreading throughout the immortal cultivation world, gathering intelligence on the 7-star spiritual realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan suspected they might be from another great power. He thought of hateful heaven ancestors' foes from the Starseed congregations. The Starseed congregations was a colossal power at sea. At least in hateful heaven ancestors' mind, the Starseed congregations were on par with the 7-star spiritual realm. Could the Starseed congregations be preparing to strike at the 7-star spiritual realm? Although Guan let his imagination run wild, he remained calm, continuing his peaceful farming life. After all, no one knew that he was Sword Venerable Fudao. After the winter snow fell, the cultivators who had fought the evil demon began returning to the Supreme Sect. It was worth mentioning that Li Ya and Zhang Buku also returned. Sensing their auras flying towards Mystic Valley, Guan awaited them in advance. The two still shared the North Sea heavy sword. Zhang Buku, looking at the forest covered in snow, appeared nervous. He was returning to the Medicine Valley where his father used to live, eager to see martial Uncle Gu again. The more Zhang Buku thought about it, the more nervous he became. Li Ya reminded him not to mention their injuries to Guan and to speak based on Gu An's reactions. Zhang Buku felt helpless but could only agree. After a short while, Li Ya and Zhang Buku flew into Mystic Valley. Their arrival drew the attention of the servant disciples. Senior Brother Li. Lu Jiujia walked over excitedly, full of surprise. Of all those who had left Mystic Valley, who was the most formidable? Naturally, it was Li Ya. Despite losing miserably to Anhao and missing the golden list because of it, Li Ya's strength had earned the Supreme Sect's recognition, making him Mystic Valley's pride. Li Ya looked at Lu Jiujia, knowing he was Gu An's junior brother. He nodded slightly and said, "I am here to see your senior brother." Before Lu Jiujia could reply, a voice floated down from the pavilion, "Senior Brother Li, Buku. Come up." Hearing Gu An's voice, Zhang Buku became excited. Li Ya glanced at him and then led him upstairs. Watching Li Ya's confident back, Lu Jiujia's eyes were full of envy. Li Ya lived the life he desired. Soon, Li Ya and Zhang Buku reached the upper floor and entered the room. Zhang Buku, seeing Guan, became so excited that he knelt down immediately. Li Ya hurriedly closed the door in fright. If word got out about his closest brother kneeling to his junior brother, it would be a scandal. "What are you doing? Get up quickly." Guan, sitting at the desk, said helplessly. Li Ya immediately pulled Zhang Buku up, glaring at him for losing face. Zhang Buku ignored Li Ya and looked at Guan with a silly grin. Guan gestured for them to sit and then got up to pour them tea. Senior brother Li, how have you been these years? Guan asked warmly. Li immediately started boasting about his encounters and his progress in cultivation. Throughout the conversation, Zhang Buku hesitated to speak. Guan placed 2 cups of tea before them. Zhang Buku wanted to stand and bow, but Guan stopped him with a look. Seeing Guan's one glance making Zhang Buku obedient, Li felt a pang of jealousy amidst his storytelling. By the way, junior brother Gu, when did you descend the mountain without telling me? If I had known you were visiting senior brother Zhang, I definitely would have gone too. Li suddenly recalled, asking sternly. Guan rolled his eyes at him and said, at that time, Buku was still a minor. Could you have come with me? You were focused on proving yourself. Li heard this and gave an embarrassed smile. His relationship with Zhang Xianxia was average. Even if he had free time, he wouldn't have gone unless Guan insisted. Guan turned to Zhang Buku and asked, how has it been following senior brother Li? Any injuries? Zhang Buku was about to speak when Li interrupted. How could you get injured following me? These years, we've been a great team, having everything we wanted, and our cultivation has advanced rapidly. Seeing this, Zhang Buku could only nod. Then Li shifted the topic to Sword Venerable Fudao, instantly changing the subject. Zhang Buku, who admired Sword Venerable Fudao, couldn't stop talking. Guan smiled at them, occasionally chiming in. Did Li really take him for the primordial ancestor? The proud look on his face made Guan want to laugh. As for Zhang Buku, although excited, he wasn't as exaggerated as Li. Hearing Guan praise Sword Venerable Fudao made Li feel greatly satisfied. He wanted to tell Guan that Sword Venerable Fudao was their Li family primordial ancestor. But recalling the primordial ancestor's instructions, he could only hold back. He hadn't encountered the primordial ancestor in a long time. What was the primordial ancestor doing? Was he busy teaching Enhao? On the way back, Li had communicated with Enhao, and compared to Enhao's progress, his achievements over the years were negligible. Once again, he felt sour. The primordial ancestor favored Enhao for his talent, but guided him out of blood and kinship. Guan didn't know what Li was thinking but felt his mood suddenly drop. He didn't want to inquire and took the chance to focus on Zhang Buku, feeling slightly irritated by Li Ya's hogging of the conversation earlier. Bullying my nephew? Fine. Brother Li treats me well, really. One sentence from Zhang Buku caused Li Ya's blood pressure to soar. Guan, smirking, asked, Brother Li? Yes, we are sworn brothers, promising to live and die together. Zhang Buku said stoutly. He could help Li Ya hide some things, but not let him gain seniority. Li Ya's expression turned awkward. His gaze fell on the paper in front of Guan. Seizing the moment, he picked it up and asked abruptly, Junior brother Gu, what are you writing? Guan smiled and replied, a book called Journey to the West. Journey to the West? Never heard of it. Just started writing it. All right then, I wish you to become a famed writer like Panan. Li skimmed a few lines before putting it back, mainly using it to divert the conversation. He didn't really care about Journey to the West. Zhu Beiji carrying his wife? What nonsense. This book seemed boring at first glance. Chapter 208 Hostility from the Divine Soul. True Lord. When Li put down the paper, the conversation unconsciously turned back to Sword Venerable Fudao, as if they could talk about him endlessly. Zhang Buku said that earlier, when Sword Venerable Fudao made his move, he saw a blurred figure, suspecting it was Sword Venerable Fudao, who passed right in front of them. Li also said he saw it, and the two were quite convinced. Guan found it amusing. He had deliberately let Enhao and the other two see him, accurately speaking, let the cultivators from the Supreme Sect notice that he was coming from there. With the limitless freedom step, Guan could move beside Divine Soul True Lord in one step. The three chatted for another ancient hour before Li Ya and Zhang Buku bade farewell. Li Ya was preparing to bring Zhang Buku into the sect, and there were many things to be busy with, so Guan naturally did not keep them. Watching them disappear into the heavy snow, Guan stood there for a while before entering the house. At the end of the year, as the spring festival approached, since the human race had completely overcome the demon calamity, it seemed peaceful days were ahead, so LV Baixia ordered an extravagant spring festival celebration this year. Before the spring festival even arrived, each city began preparations, and this atmosphere also affected Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. To welcome the new era, LV Badian issued various decrees, raising the treatment of every level of disciple, down to even the servant disciples, making the entire sect jubilant. Riding the blood prison Great Saint, Guan strolled through the outer gate city. He could sense many people hiding their cultivation levels in the city, with more than 20 Mystic Heart Realm cultivators, 3 Mahayana Realm, and 1 in the Nirvana Realm. These people were all from overseas, and in the past year they had been gathering various intelligence, mainly about the views of Supreme Sect cultivators on the Holy Land 7 Stars Spirit Realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. They did not affect Guan, so he could not be bothered with them. Along the way, Guan met many old acquaintances, some who graduated from Medicine Valley, and some fellow disciples he met at the Book Collection Hall and Elixir Hall. Engaging in small talk, he did not feel bored, but rather found it interesting. Listening to friends' current endeavors in immortal cultivation also broadened his experience. The spring festival atmosphere enveloped every street, even the blood prison Great Saint looked around curiously. Unknowingly, Guan arrived at the Heavenly Repair Platform again. The vast Heavenly Repair Platform was crowded and noisy, with many outer disciples standing guard around the edges. First vanquish the demon ancestor, then eliminate the evil demon. Sword Venerable Fudeo's prestige had reached its peak. Even disciples from other sects would come to the Heavenly Repair Platform to worship the words, righteous path. The entire immortal cultivation world was discussing Sword Venerable Fudao, and it was worth mentioning that the Sword Venerable legend written by Xiantiani had become a hit. In the book, Sword Venerable Fudao liked to tap his enemies on the shoulder at night, which corresponded perfectly with the earlier scene where he pressed down on Divine Soul True Lord's shoulder, making people wonder if Green Hero knew Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan just watched from below the platform. There were many like him, mostly Foundation Establishment Realm and Qi Cultivation Realm, content to watch the excitement from afar. Then, Guan patted the blood prison Great Saint, guiding it. With the festival coming, he had to prepare gifts for the disciples. This year's spring festival held a different meaning, as the Supreme Sect was ready for rapid development. The previous Golden List Conference, Alchemy Meeting, and the world's first Sword Dao Conference had accumulated enormous wealth for the Supreme Sect, and now with the world in peace, it was time to make great strides. Guan also needed to gather high-rank medical herbs for the Grotto Heaven. Suddenly, a prompt appeared before Guan's eyes. Divine Soul True Lord has developed hostility towards you and formed the intention to kill. Would you like to perform lifespan detection on him? A prompt suddenly appeared before Guan's eyes, making him frown. Well then. Guan took a deep breath and chose to perform lifespan detection. He had looked before and wanted to see again because this time it was about his own life. Divine Soul True Lord, Wandering Immortal Realm 3rd Layer 28098/13000/180000. Currently, he had around 10,000 years of life left. He should be able to seize 10,000 years of life. Guan changed his mind and had the blood prison Great Saint leave the outer gate city, heading outside instead of towards the inner sect, finding an uninhabited forest to stay for a while. Within a secluded palace, the floor reflected a luminous glow, with many spirit stones embedded in the stone pillars on both sides. It was these spirit stones that illuminated the hall. At the end of the hall, Divine Soul True Lord sat at the head seat, holding a scroll. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the black-clad man kneeling in the hall, saying, "You may leave." The black-clad man immediately turned and left. Once the door closed again, Divine Soul True Lord frowned, with his left hand supporting his cheek and his right hand holding the scroll, deep in thought. His gaze occasionally glanced at the scroll in his hand. Xiantiani, Divine Soul True Lord muttered to himself. Since leaving the continent, although he feared Sword Venerable Fudao, he had not given up. He had ordered Supreme Sect spies to investigate all of Xiantiani's relationships, and the scroll in his hand recorded everyone closely related to Xiantiani. The rising power of the evil demon was likely related to Xiantiani, and Sword Venerable Fudao intervened to save him. No matter how he thought about it, Divine Soul True Lord blamed Xiantiani for the failure in the battle against the evil demon. So he developed a murderous intent towards Xiantiani and his close associates. But he dared not act rashly, for perhaps Sword Venerable Fudao was among them in disguise. The mere thought of Sword Venerable Fudao made Divine Soul True Lord feel troubled. Fortunately, the 3-star cave had not contacted him much over these years, or he really wouldn't know how to report back. Sigh. Divine Soul True Lord sighed, stood up, and prepared to head to the small spirit realm to seclude himself. The 7-star spirit realm needed to maintain its image and avoid being discovered by nearby great powers. As the high-standing cave master, he only needed to issue orders and would not personally manage things. He took 2 steps forward, just about to descend the steps. A hand suddenly landed on his shoulder. Although it was just a light tap, his heart stopped. He couldn't forget the feeling of being tapped on the shoulder by Sword Venerable Fudao. Fear instinctively arose in his heart, and as he was about to speak, an overwhelming mana surged into his body, instantly turning his flesh into ashes, and even his primordial spirit vanished. The gap between the 9th layer of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm and the 3rd layer of the wandering immortal realm was immense. In front of Guan, Divine Soul True Lord was no different from an ant. The scroll in Divine Soul True Lord's hand also turned to ashes along with him. Guan, who had performed the 9 extremes yin-yang body technique, vanished as if he had never appeared. He quickly returned to the Supreme Sect, emerging from the bushes and walking towards the Blood Prison Great Saint. He had been out of the Blood Prison Great Saint's sight for less than 10 breaths. With its cultivation sealed, the Blood Prison Great Saint had no idea what he had done and immediately stood up after seeing him return. Guan hung the wildflowers he had casually picked on the Blood Prison Great Saint's horns and directed it towards Mystic Valley. The Blood Prison Great Saint did not think much and carried Guan away. At this moment, Guan appeared calm, but his heart was far from at peace. He looked again at the prompt. Killing Divine Soul True Lord had given him 10,500 years of life. The wandering immortal realm was indeed formidable, no longer akin to weeds. When he killed Divine Soul True Lord, Guan did not even dare to perform a soul search, as Divine Soul True Lord surely knew many high realm immortals, and he feared that soul searching might alert those powerful beings. He was already peering into the way of cause and effect. If he delved deeply into this path, it would be like gaining foresight of potential life threats. He had not even explored that cave. For a great cultivator like Divine Soul True Lord to disappear for decades or even 100 years was not unusual. It remained to be seen whether the 7-star spirit realm had a device to contact its disciples. Guan had once read a book stating that some sects across the seas possessed special artifacts. When a sect member perished, they could detect it immediately. Anyway, he would take a gamble. Guan would not allow someone harboring murderous intent towards him to live. The longer they were left unchecked, the greater the danger. After the Spring Festival, the Supreme Sect began promoting the world's first cultivation meeting. What was the cultivation meeting? This idea, inspired by the heaven-cutting axe, was to create a heavy object that participants would control with spiritual power. The announcement of this meeting caused widespread interest in the immortal cultivation world. Such a meeting had never been held before. LV Badian planned to prepare for 5 years and even hinted at participation from overseas cultivators. Since killing Divine Soul True Lord, Guan observed the territory of the 3 dynasties every day with his divine sense. Fortunately, everything was peaceful, and the lifespan detection had not been triggered. In mid-March, LV Badian visited Guan. The 2 drank wine in the house, with Guan listening carefully to LV Badian's ambitious plans, occasionally interjecting. He did not understand how to manage a sect but could offer some suggestions. Currently, LV Badian's ideas aligned with his own. LV Badian put all his efforts outward, and the entire sect worked hard for its growth, reducing internal strife significantly. The supreme sect enjoyed unprecedented harmony. Even though the world appears peaceful now, I still feel uneasy, just like half a year ago when dealing with the evil demon. That mysterious cultivator, his cultivation was incomparably strong. LV Badian put down his wine bowl and sighed. That person was already dead. Guan silently answered in his heart but said, wasn't it said that the person was an immortal senior from the Holy Land? The Holy Land shouldn't bring calamity, right? LV Badian curled his lips and said, who knows? Alright, let's not talk about this. I just hope that in my lifetime, the Supreme Sect can produce someone who surpasses the Mahayana realm. For this, I will spare no effort. Guan nodded and said, and Hao is exceptionally talented, he is the best candidate. Indeed. LV Badian smiled. After experiencing the demon calamity, he seemed to have a new perspective on Hao. This was good too. He hoped LV Badian would focus on Hao as Guan did not want to become the sect leader. The two talked for a long time before LV Badian finally bade farewell. He had gained new ideas from Guan. Even before the world's first cultivation meeting began, he was already planning the next grand event. After LV Badian left, Guan did not stay long at the Third Medicine Valley either. He returned to Mystic Valley, then quietly left. He continuously used the limitless freedom step, quickly distancing himself from the mainland. After several steps, he arrived on a vast island, the most prosperous in this sea area, with a cultivator population exceeding 5 million, always bustling with people. He did not disguise himself since the Supreme Sect was so far away. Even a Mahayana realm cultivator would take a lot of time to get here, and there were countless sea demons along the way. Here, no one recognized him. The purpose of this trip was to purchase medicinal herb seeds. His grotto heaven only grew herbs of the 7th rank or higher. Chapter 209 Menglang, Loose Immortal Realm Level 6. Before coming, Guan had already observed with his divine sense that the strongest on the island was slightly stronger than a divine soul true lord, but not by much. If there was a heaven and earth flying immortal, he would not have dared to come. If there was a heaven and earth flying immortal, then there could be an even higher realm. If the strongest on the surface was only a wandering immortal, there should not be a more terrifying existence hidden in the shadows. Even if there was, as long as Guan did not cause trouble, nothing should happen. He went to the Sea Protection Mansion in the city, intending to conduct a transaction and register for an identity token, which would allow him to enter and exit the various buildings. This was information he had gathered with his divine sense earlier. The Sea Protection Mansion was very large, with many cultivators coming and going, covering an area of 100 miles. As soon as Guan entered, a servant greeted him. Senior, may I ask what you are here for? To register for an identity token. Alright, let me take you there. This way, please. The servant's demeanor was very respectful and enthusiastic. Guan followed him. There were many servants like him. Although their attire was not luxurious, it was clean and respectful. From the color of their clothes, their status in the Sea Protection Mansion could be judged. The clothes of this servant were the most common. After asking Guan if he was a newcomer, the servant began to introduce the Sea Protection Mansion and the island to him. This island was called Immortal Seeking Island, a famous neutral island in the ocean. Transactions could be conducted here safely. If something went wrong, the island master would ensure justice. Moreover, connections could be made with great sects such as the Star Sea Congregations, 7 Stars Spirit Realm, and Deep Sea Spirit Palace. When introducing the background of Immortal Seeking Island, the servant was not arrogant, remaining humble, which Guan found impeccable. When Guan asked for his name, the servant was flattered and quickly introduced himself. Actually, even without his introduction, Guan already knew, but it was necessary to go through the formalities. Hu Xiaojian, Nascent Soul Realm, 2nd Layer 480/860/2200. A lifespan of this extent could make him a genius in the Supreme Sect, but on Immortal Seeking Island, he could only serve as a servant. Guan sighed inwardly. By the way, Senior, have you reached the Immortal Path Realm? If so, I can guide you to obtain a high-rank identity token, which comes with various benefits. Hu Xiaojian asked cautiously. He could tell from Gu An's extraordinary bearing, though not overbearing, that Guan was likely a great cultivator who had returned to simplicity. Guan responded affirmatively, making Hu Xiaojian even more excited. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, under Hu Xiaojian's guidance, Guan arrived at a large hall where most of the cultivators coming and going were in the Mahayana realm or Nirvana realm. The Nirvana realm cultivators were likely outsiders like Guan, while the Mahayana realm cultivators belonged to the Sea Protection Mansion. As for loose immortals, they were rare to encounter. Hu Xiaojian approached an elderly man and explained Gu An's intention. The elder immediately stood up and led the two to a side hall. Chu Feng, Nirvana realm, 5th layer 3860/15000/17000, Guan silently noted this information, then followed Chu Feng. Chu Feng took a white jade token, uninscribed, from a redwood cabinet, handed it to Guan, and said, "Inject your mana into this, then silently recite your name to register." Guan took the white jade token, adjusted his cultivation level, and injected his mana. After a few breaths, he raised the identity token to show Chu Feng. Meng Lang, loose immortal realm, 6th layer. Chu Feng read aloud, then quickly raised his hand in salute, respectfully addressing him as senior. Hu Xiaojian was even more excited, also saluting. Guan put away the identity token and casually asked, "I heard there are many benefits to a high-rank identity token?" Chu Feng nodded and respectfully introduced the benefits of a high-rank identity token. Tax transaction discounts, permanent cave residence, allocation of 5 servants, and more. Guan was very pleased with what he heard and ultimately decided to have Hu Xiaojian lead the way, making Hu Xiaojian feel flattered while Chu Feng smiled and encouraged Hu Xiaojian. Thus, Guan began his procurement journey on Immortal Seeking Island. First, he had to exchange for spirit stones. It was worth mentioning that on Immortal Seeking Island, the basic currency was a top-grade spirit stone. Low-grade and mid-grade spirit stones were not allowed here. Low-rank cultivators did not even have the qualification to enter the island, a harsh reality. But on second thought, who below the nascent soul realm could cross the ocean to reach Immortal Seeking Island? Immortal Seeking Island was surrounded by millions of miles of sea, with no other islands around. As for the mainland, it was even farther away. To Hu Xiaojian, the 7 stars spirit realm was a distant power. He had heard most about the star sea congregations, the overlords of the ocean. In the evening, Guan returned to Mystic Valley. Purchasing medicinal herbs took time, not a one-time deal. However, Immortal Seeking Island had plenty of high-rank medicinal herbs, even offering 9th-rank medicinal herbs, enough to meet Gu An's needs. It was said that every few decades, Immortal Path spirit trees might even be auctioned on Immortal Seeking Island. After greeting the disciples in the valley, he went upstairs. Once the procurement was done, it would be time to publish Journey to the West. Today's trip to Immortal Seeking Island had put Guan in a good mood. Using the name Meng Lang was a way to commemorate an old friend. He was not worried about being recognized. Most people who knew Guan would never reach Immortal Seeking Island in their lifetimes. As for geniuses like Xian Tianyi and Hao, without advancing to the Immortal Path realm, they would find it difficult to come. If Xian Tianyi had connections with the Star Sea congregations, he might have the chance to go to Immortal Seeking Island, but he had never heard of Meng Lang. Guan thought that many years later, if he met Xian Tianyi overseas, Xian Tianyi's expression would be interesting. Speaking of Xian Tianyi, that guy was still recovering from his injuries in the Supreme Sect. Who knows when he would recover his strength? Guan set aside these thoughts and focused on writing. A month later. Having just turned 98, Guan came to Nianshu Cave. He found Tian Yaoer and brought her into his grotto heaven, then took out a large number of medicinal herb seeds and handed them to her for planting. Looking at the multitude of seeds, Tian Yaoer's eyes widened, her breath quickening. How long will this take to plant? Guan had spent all his wealth, yet only a quarter of it was used. He chuckled softly, these seeds are at least 7th order. Be careful, if you ruin any, they'll have to hold you accountable. Seventh Order, Seventh Order? Tian Yao was stunned, then thrilled. With so many high-rank medicinal herbs properly planted, the spiritual energy here would be abundant, wouldn't it? She immediately began to take action. Guan, on the other hand, infused his mana into the ground, converting it into 5-element spiritual energy. Relying solely on the grotto heaven to absorb earth spirit energy was too slow. Fortunately, the heaven and earth primordial skill documented a sorcery on how to convert mana into spiritual energy. Busy days awaited. Time flew by, and the immortal cultivation world welcomed a period of peace. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Guan's total lifespan had reached 6,700,000 years. He had planted all the high-rank medicinal herbs he had purchased in his grotto heaven, but the maturity time for 7th Order medicinal grass was extremely long, so he had to be patient. Though the wait was long, once harvested, it would be an enormous amount of lifespan. Moreover, 7th Order medicinal grass had a strong life force and required little oversight. That year, the Supreme Sect had grown much stronger. Meanwhile, the Taizong dynasty and the Tianwei dynasty had begun to war, while the Great Jiang dynasty remained stable, not participating in the conflict. The dynastic struggles were cruel but not a catastrophe, having no impact on the immortal cultivation world. Guan planned to achieve core formation that year. His surface cultivation level needed to be improved. One day at noon, Xiantiani came to visit Guan. As they entered the house to chat, Xiantiani cast many restrictions first. He was now the strongest cultivator in the Supreme Sect but still deployed many restrictions, indicating his awareness of several great cultivators infiltrating the Supreme Sect. Did you see the celestial phenomenon from that battle? Xiantiani turned to Guan and asked solemnly. Guan nodded, then motioned for him to sit and talk. Bam! Xiantiani slammed the table in fury, cursing, I was schemed against by the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. A bunch of bastards. This isn't over. Guan's eyelids twitched. Why are you telling me this? He suddenly suspected that the Divine Soul True Lord's hostility towards him a few months ago was due to investigating Xiantiani's connections. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm? Are you talking about the Holy Land? Guan asked cautiously. Xiantiani sat down, took a deep breath, and said, yes, I was thrown into the evil demon's sealing ground by cultivators from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. If not for Sword Venerable Fudeo's intervention, they would have wanted to eliminate me completely. How hateful. Divine Soul True Lord, just you wait. Guan said worriedly, the Holy Land is powerful. You mustn't be reckless. Even the entire Supreme Sect wouldn't be enough. Xiantiani looked at him and snorted, I know that, but I'm not just a disciple of the Supreme Sect. I'm also a disciple of the Star Sea congregations. My peers have already infiltrated the Supreme Sect. I'm planning to head south and inform my master about this. The Star Sea congregations and the 7 Stars Spirit Realm both follow the righteous path and do not harm the common people. I will ensure the 7 Stars Spirit Realm doesn't have it easy. How bold. You have a backer, and you didn't say so earlier? Forcing me to take risks? Guan complained inwardly, feeling helpless. Xiantiani, seeing through his thoughts, said with a hint of regret, after all, it is the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Without a legitimate reason, the Star Sea congregations would not act. I don't have that kind of influence, but if I had evidence, it would be different. Anyway, the 7 Stars Spirit Realm won't have a good time coming. Guan cautioned him, though I don't know how powerful the Star Sea congregations are, be careful. The journey south is long, if anything happens on the way. He didn't finish his sentence, but Xiantiani understood. No worries. I will be accompanied by other disciples of the Star Sea congregations, and there will be Immortal Path seniors overseeing from abroad. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm won't dare to act rashly. Xiantiani reassured him. Guan felt relieved. Xiantiani then said, you focus on your cultivation. Someday, it'll take you into the Star Sea congregations, you might gain immortal destiny. Guan shook his head. Forget it. The ocean is a place for the high and mighty. As a mere mortal, I'll stay in the supreme sect. I don't want to be a burden. Xiantiani tried to persuade him further but was diverted by Guan, who asked him when he would return. Xiantiani said it depended on the situation, ranging from a few years to several decades. But he would definitely return, as his next goal was to help develop the supreme sect. Although he was angry, he saw this as an opportunity. If the Star Sea congregations pressured the Seven Stars spirit realm, the supreme sect could develop. Even though he now belonged to the Star Sea congregations, he wanted to help the supreme sect. In any case, he believed that no matter how the supreme sect developed, it could never catch up to the Star Sea congregations. Chapter 210, Journey to the West emerges, shocking the world. Guan chatted with Xiantiani for a full 2 ancient hours. Before leaving, Guan even gave him half a set of Journey to the West. So many years had passed, he had already written Journey to the West, but he wanted to release it later and kept refining his calligraphy, so he had rewritten Journey to the West many times. The reason for giving Xiantiani only half was because he was afraid Xiantiani might leak it. Always leave some suspense. After Xiantiani left, Guan followed downstairs and rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to the Mystic Valley. Yilan was waiting for him in the pavilion. He dismounted from the Blood Prison Great Saint's back and leisurely went upstairs. When the two met, they exchanged pleasantries. Over the past year, Yilan had been very busy and could only come to see him during the spring festival. "Senior brother, you are turning 100 this year. How about a celebration?" Yilan asked with a smile. Guan shook his head and said, "Why would a cultivator celebrate a big birthday? No need, I don't like trouble." Yilan nodded and didn't press further. She just mentioned it casually. After all, 100 years was an important milestone. They started chatting. Yilan didn't have any special reason to see Guan, she just missed him. They talked about everything, from the supreme sect to the immortal cultivation world, and even about the common folk. Most of the time, Yilan did the talking, and Guan chimed in. A long time passed. Guan was concerned about her primordial reincarnation skill. Yilan said that she practiced it daily. Although her cultivation level hadn't increased, she could feel the accumulation of the primordial reincarnation skill. Guan took out a large number of prepared supreme-grade elixirs for her, telling her to take them promptly. In 20 years, she would need to unseal the primordial reincarnation skill. By then, it was unknown how much her maximum lifespan would increase. Faced with Guan's gifts and arrangements, Yilan did not refuse and instead showed a happy smile. Seeing her smile, Guan couldn't help but shiver. "Junior sister, don't misunderstand, I will always be your senior brother," Guan said seriously. Yilan nodded with a smile. She stood up, walked to Guan's side, and placed her hands on his shoulders. It had always been him who patted others' shoulders, only his junior sister could pat his. Well, she was his junior sister, after all. "Sit down, no hands on." "Oh, senior brother, I won't do anything inappropriate, just like last time." "You dare mention last time? What's wrong with a little touch?" "I promise I won't go further." "Don't speak such bold words, sit down, I have something to tell you." "Say it, I'll just stand by your side." 3 days later, Guan rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to the outer gate city. He made his way to the book collection hall. The great elder of the book collection hall, Feng Shang, personally received Guan. After they were seated, Feng Shang asked with a smile, "Shattering the Void is finished. Do you have a new book in mind?" Though Shattering the Void's reputation wasn't as great as Investiture of the Gods, it made a lot of money, benefiting not only him but the entire Outer Gate City as well. Their Outer Gate City had become the top among the 8 Outer Gate cities, with Sword Venerable Fudao in martial and Pannon in literature. Every time he read Investiture of the Gods, Feng Shang felt Guan resembled Sword Venerable Fudao. But thinking that Guan was not yet 100 years old, he found his speculation absurd. Though perhaps Pannin was somehow related to Sword Venerable Fudao, maybe this was why Pannin refused to write about Sword Venerable Fudao, fearing people might discover the connection. Guan took out 5 books from his storage bag, which were the first half of Journey to the West. Feng Shang picked up the topmost book and, seeing the cover, he couldn't help but read aloud, Journey to the West? The name sounded ordinary. He was a bit disappointed, but considering Pan's fame, even an ordinary book would earn spirit stones. He began to read, and after a few moments, his expression changed slightly. He straightened his back and read more intently. As time went on, his right hand began to tremble. When he read about Sun Wukong causing havoc in the heavenly palace, he couldn't help but slap his thigh in excitement. Guan shook his head and laughed. He stood up and said, "The books are yours. Leave the rest to you." Having worked with the book collection hall for so many years, he naturally didn't worry about them deceiving him. Upon hearing this, Feng Shang quickly stood up, excitedly saying, "Journey to the West will definitely be a hit. This is a divine book comparable to Investiture of the Gods. No, it's even better than Investiture of the Gods." Journey to the West had a stronger narrative ability and the plot was highly engaging. Watching Sun Wukong's birth, his struggle for kingship, and his journey to the sea to seek immortality, he felt it resonated well with the cultivators in the immortal cultivation world. Furthermore, when the heavenly court appointed Sun Wukong as the horse's fortune, and he endured humiliation in heaven, he couldn't help but anticipate Sun Wukong's rebellion. He hadn't expected Sun Wukong to actually cause havoc in the heavenly palace. It was truly powerful. Feng Shang genuinely admired Guan, who could think of anything. Moreover, the spells, Dharma treasures, and powers in Journey to the West felt real, as he had heard similar legends before. There were stories of a dragon palace under the sea, immortals in the heavens, and sages overseas, among others. Guan smiled at him and, without saying much, turned and left. Feng Shang watched Guan walk out the door, with sunlight shining on him, feeling dazed. Truly an immortal. Guan found the Blood Prison Great Saint and rode it away from the book collection hall. Along the street, he occasionally encountered old acquaintances, greeting them with a smile. After the Ji family withdrew from the Supreme Sect, the Zhou family also switched to the Zhangtian sect. The departure of the two great families happened quietly. Had it been decades earlier, the Supreme Sect would have been severely weakened, but now, there didn't seem to be any impact. Instead, the Supreme Sect had grown even stronger. However, Guan heard other family names from the passing cultivators. This was the Supreme Sect. When some left, others would take their place. This was a sign of continuous prosperity. Who knew when the Supreme Sect would reach the levels of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm and the Star Sea congregations? At that time, how many of his old acquaintances would still be around? Guan's thoughts drifted with the bumping of the ox's back, fantasizing about scenes thousands or even tens of thousands of years in the future. A blink of an eye. Another year passed. This year, the Supreme Sect's first Under Heaven's Cultivation level tournament was about to commence, but the hottest topic was a book. Journey to the West. With the release of Pan's Journey to the West, the entire immortal cultivation world was shaken. Initially thought to be another mediocre book like Supreme Immortal Venerable or Shattering the Void, it turned out to be a classical type like Investiture of the Gods. Great Sage equaling Heaven's Sun Wukong became the most popular name in the 3 dynasties immortal cultivation world. Pannin was once again elevated to a godlike status. With just one Journey to the West, people no longer doubted his talent, and some even claimed that Journey to the West was superior to Investiture of the Gods. LV Badian seized the opportunity to leverage the popularity of Journey to the West, declaring that the person who won the top spot in the first Under Heaven's Cultivation level tournament would earn the title of Great Sage. This ignited even more interest and anticipation for the first Under Heaven's Cultivation level tournament. Because of Journey to the West, Pan's fame within the Supreme Sect even overshadowed Sword Venerable Fudao for a while. Pan'an had initiated a trend of book chasing in the immortal cultivation world. Now, he once again outshone Sword Venerable Fudao through his literary work. In fact, many immortal cultivation stories had emerged after Panin, but most cultivators still felt Pan's writings were the best. Guan thought this was due to the initial euphoria of the first read, as the immortal cultivation world certainly had many literary talented cultivators. One day, Guan rode the blood prison Great Saint once again to the outer gate city. He felt there would be some excitement to watch today. The city was bustling with people, cultivators coming and going ceaselessly, very lively, almost like celebrating the spring festival. Guan saw many cultivators in strange costumes, and even shape-shifting demons. Now, the Supreme Sect had begun recruiting demon clan disciples, with great results. Each year, around 10,000 shape-shifting demons would come to apprentice. The main character in Journey to the West being a demon had made the entire demon community more favorable towards the Supreme Sect. Arriving at the surroundings of the heavenly repair platform, the blood prison Great Saint halted. He heard people around talking. Have you read Journey to the West? The book collection hall put up another batch yesterday, and I managed to get a copy. Then lend it to me. I read an unofficial version that doesn't contain Pan's handwriting. Recently, more and more people have been challenging the heaven-cutting axe. They say that whoever can lift the heaven-cutting axe can secure the top spot in the first Under Heaven's cultivation level tournament. You're joking. Even the champion can't possibly lift the heaven-cutting axe. Some were talking about Journey to the West, some about Sword Venerable Fudao, but most were discussing the first Under Heaven's cultivation level tournament. Guan silently counted down. After a while, he thought to himself, here it comes. A dominating aura enveloped the heavenly repair platform, followed by a loud voice that echoed throughout the city. I am the foremost cultivator of Lingxia, Xiao Dai. All of you move aside. I want to challenge the heaven-cutting axe. Boom! The entire city trembled. Everyone looked towards the sky above the heavenly repair platform and saw a majestic figure floating in the air. It was a man in a yellow robe, wearing a golden crown and a python belt, with an aura like a swirling dragon around him. Guan cast a lifespan detection spell on him. Xiao Dai, Mahayana Realm 9th Layer 898/8900/8900, an extreme lifespan of 8,900 years. Among Nirvana dead, he was second only to Anhao and the Blood Prison Great Saint, even surpassing Xian Tianyi. Guan could feel that this person contained chi blood beyond the Mahayana realm. Of course, it was only beyond, reaching the Nirvana realm was impossible. The weakest in the Nirvana realm was stronger than the strongest in the Mahayana realm. This was the barrier between the mortal and the immortal. People around the heaven-cutting axe gave way, and Xiao Dai descended. Many were discussing where Lingxia was. Guan knew about Lingxia. It was the dynasty in the far north of the continent, created by the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Everyone in that dynasty was a descendant of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm cultivators. But the territories of the three dynasties hadn't interacted with Lingxia yet. Zhuo Yijian stood beside the heaven-cutting axe, eyeing Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai exuded an emperor's aura, and with each step, a dragon's roar accompanied him, which made Zhuo Yijian secretly marvel. When he reached the heaven-cutting axe, Xiao Dai didn't try to lift it immediately. Instead, he looked at Zhuo Yijian and said, "Move away, so you don't get hurt." Zhuo Yijian was instantly infuriated, crumpling the Journey to the West in his hand. An elder in the unification realm appeared out of thin air and said, "Listen to him, everyone back off." Upon hearing this, Zhuo Yijian reluctantly retreated. The cultivators meditating around the righteous words also got up, including Di Xie. Ji Hantian appeared among the crowd, watching Xiao Dai with solemn eyes. The Ji family had close ties with the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, and he had met Xiao Dai in the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. At that time, he was still young, and Xiao Dai was already the most famous genius in the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Though most of the Ji family had joined the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, Ji Hantian had a strong aversion to it, which made him dislike Xiao Dai. He couldn't help but say, without immortal path cultivation, don't dream of challenging. Chapter 211. The unfathomable Guan Xiao Dai ignored Ji Hantian's provocation and fixed his gaze on the heaven-cutting axe. Everyone looked at him. Over the years, there were countless cultivators who came to challenge the heaven-cutting axe, but few had such a commanding presence like him. The number one cultivator in Lingxia, it sounded quite intimidating. Though Xiao Dai appeared calm, in fact, he was very nervous inside. In recent years, Sword Venerable Fudao's prestige was incredibly strong, spreading widely even within the spirit realm. Xiao Dai knew he could not possibly be a match for Sword Venerable Fudao, but since the heaven-cutting axe was merely a treasure left behind by Sword Venerable Fudao, he still had confidence in lifting it. He raised his right hand and gripped the handle of the axe. At the moment he grasped it, he felt an unprecedented heaviness. His brows furrowed, and he immediately began to exert force. Rumble, the heavenly repair platform quaked, and everyone watched him nervously. No matter which sect they were from, the cultivators on the platform did not want him to lift it. The disciples of the Supreme Sect cared about face, while disciples from other sects cared about opportunity. Who wouldn't want to become the heir of Sword Venerable Fudao? To this day, Sword Venerable Fudao had become a figure of worship for all sects under 3 dynasties. Under Guan, the blood prison great saint secretly marveled. He too wanted to try lifting the heaven-cutting axe. So far, the only person he couldn't surpass was the one on his back. This fellow named Xiao Dai was different. The blood prison great saint could sense that Xiao Dai's cultivation level was even higher than his own. If Xiao Dai couldn't move the axe, then he would have no hope. This made him even more wary of Sword Venerable Fudao. Just leaving a Dharma treasure on the platform, and over the years, no one could lift it, let alone move it. It was unimaginable how high Sword Venerable Fudao's cultivation realm must be. Xiao Dai also started using a secret technique, making his momentum soar, causing even the outer city to tremble. More and more figures appeared on the heavenly repair platform, all high-ranking members of the Supreme Sect. They looked at Xiao Dai with eyes full of fear. But as they watched, the great cultivators of the Supreme Sect began to smile. The momentum was terrifying, but it was useless. If it couldn't be lifted, it just couldn't be lifted. Zui Yijin watched Xiao Dai's contorted face with silent glee. Let him be arrogant, with such limited skills, he dared to challenge the heaven-cutting axe. In the end, Xiao Dai did not become like Xian Tianyi or Ji Xianling. He only attempted for a few breaths before his momentum suddenly receded. He stood straight, withdrew his right hand, and said, as expected of Sword Venerable Fudao, "I, Xiao Dai, admit defeat." His voice echoed throughout the city, resonating endlessly. Even though his words were boastful, many people wanted to ask who he was, having never heard of him before. But recalling Xiao Dai's earlier momentum, no one dared offend him. Not daring to offend Xiao Dai, they all praised Sword Venerable Fudao instead. Suddenly, the heavenly repair platform became lively, and everyone started discussing the strength of Sword Venerable Fudao. Xiao Dai looked at Ji Hantian and snorted, "Where is your sect leader? I want to meet him." Ji Hantian nodded, then motioned for Xiao Dai to follow. The two quickly left the outer city. Guan patted the back of the blood prison great saint, signaling it could go. After leaving the outer city, Guan said leisurely, "In a few years, I will let you reach the 2nd level, able to speak human words." Hearing this, the blood prison great saint's eyes brightened. Not being able to speak was really unbearable. He couldn't wait to curse those ants who kept touching him all day long. But remember, there are things you can say and things you can't, Guan reminded. The blood prison great saint nodded quickly. Actually, there wasn't much he could say, as he had no idea how strong Guan really was. Day by day passed, and it came to the end of summer. On the peak of the mountain north of Mystic Valley, Guan was sparring with Chu Jingfeng in swordsmanship. While swinging his sword, Gu An's divine sense spread out, surveying the continent inside and out. He saw a heaven and earth flying immortal traversing the sky, descending to the mortal world at the eastern end of the firmament. Over the years, he saw many figures coming and going between heaven and earth. Though heaven and earth flying immortals were rare, at his level, he could see at least one every day, showing how vast this mortal world was. Heaven and earth flying immortals were not the strongest. Even at the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, Guan's divine sense could not cover the entire mortal world. No wonder it was called the Great Heavenly Spirit Land. This mortal world was truly vast. For Guan, the bigger this world was, the better. The larger the world, the smaller and more insignificant he felt. After a while, Guan sensed a vast aura erupting from the eastern direction, far from the continent, even farther than Immortal Seeking Island. But that aura made his heart tremble. It was very powerful. It didn't seem like the aura of a living being's cultivation, but rather some kind of supreme treasure. Could it be that someone from beyond the heavens came for this mysterious supreme treasure? It seemed highly possible to Guan. At this moment, Chu Jingfeng sheathed his sword, gasping, "I'm exhausted, can't match you." He looked at Guan with a complex expression. Every time he felt his swordsmanship had improved significantly, he would spar with Guan. Each time, it seemed he was about to win, but the result was always defeat. The two competed in swordsmanship without using spiritual power, purely relying on qi. Of course, if he couldn't defeat Guan before his qi was depleted, it meant his swordsmanship wasn't superior to Guan's. Guan smiled, "Just a little more, you are much stronger than before." Chu Jingfeng wiped the sweat off his forehead and stared at Guan, asking, "Do you mean you are also improving, or have you been holding back?" He increasingly felt that Guan was unfathomable. Initially, he was merely grateful to Guan, but now he felt Guan was either a peerless genius or a high-level cultivator hiding his cultivation. He thought back to the years when the demon of greed caused chaos. The demon of greed had perished in Guan's house, but to this day, no one discovered who had saved Guan. Could it be Guan himself? Guan laughed, "Hey, I'm at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, about to reach core formation. Isn't it normal to beat you? Don't forget, I'm ranked 500th on the golden list." Seeing his smug expression, Chu Jingfeng couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Right, why overthink? In any case, he was now a cripple, weaker than everyone. After chatting for a while longer, Guan gripped his heavenly residence sword and descended the mountain, while Chu Jingfeng sat meditating on the cliff, reflecting on his earlier sword-fighting experiences. The next morning, the first Heavenly Strength tournament officially began. It was said that over 50,000 cultivators and demons had signed up, covering all realms. There were even mysterious Mahayana cultivators participating. Guan did not participate. Instead, he headed to Wuxia Valley to harvest medicinal herbs. This year, he aimed to reach a lifespan of 7 million years. After surpassing the 10 million year mark, he could look forward to a billion-year lifespan. A billion years would bring new abilities. The next time could be 10 billion or even 100 billion years for new functions. The thought was exciting to Guan. If a billion years passed in the real world, how high would his cultivation level be? The sky was clear, and the ocean was boundless. Immortal Seeking Island sat on the ocean, small as a speck of dust, but when viewed up close, its prosperity was evident. Guan returned to Immortal Seeking Island, and exchanged all the medicinal herbs he had gathered over the past 3 years for top-grade spirit stones, then began to wander around. He planned to buy some high-quality cultivation elixirs to help Yilan and Xiaochuan. As for others, he wouldn't go out of his way to help them. Enjoying the elixirs he personally refined was good enough. Hu Xiaojian continued to lead the way for Guan, full of enthusiasm. By the way, Senior, several months ago, a conflict broke out between the Star Sea congregations and the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Have you heard about it? Hu Xiaojian asked suddenly, his expression excited. Guan answered, "I've been secluded in training, unaware of this." Why did they clash? Hu Xiaojian lowered his voice. It said that a disciple of the Star Sea congregations was killed by the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, so a group of Star Sea congregation cultivators attacked islands affiliated with the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. They fought for 3 days and nights. Many say the Star Sea congregations and 7 Stars Spirit Realm are going to war. They have been at peace for 50,000 years, who knows if it's true. If these two top forces go to war, this ocean will be far from peaceful. Guan first thought of Xiantiani. Was Xiantiani's capabilities so great? On second thought, yes, a Mahayana cultivator of several hundred years was rare. Even on the ocean, he would be a top-tier talent. On Immortal-Seeking Island, Guan had only seen a few. The two continued chatting as they moved forward. An hour later, Guan had spent all his spirit stones, reaping abundant rewards. Spending on his junior brothers and sisters, he felt no regret, even if they were destined to die. He was willing to help them live a few hundred or thousand years longer. After dismissing Hu Shaojian, Guan began to wander Immortal-Seeking Island on his own. Immortal-Seeking Island was large, with numerous cities. Cultivators, demons, and spirit beasts were everywhere, making the streets very lively. Suddenly, someone brushed past Guan due to the person's peculiar attire. Guan subconsciously threw a lifespan detection. Nine-Finger Divine Lord, second layer of Traveling Immortal Realm 170800/190000/800000. 17,000 years? Was this 80,000-year maximum lifespan serious? Guan was intrigued. The person's apparent cultivation was only at the Mahayana realm. Even as a 9th-level heaven and earth flying immortal realm great cultivator, Guan couldn't see through his true cultivation level, indicating this man's greatness. Of course, it was also possible that this person was not a wandering immortal, but had his cultivation level fall due to some reason. Guan thought the latter was more likely. He didn't turn back and continued forward. However, the Nine-Finger Divine Lord stopped. He wore a black outfit like a wanderer. His clothes were not fancy, somewhat old, with a bamboo hat and a large wooden box on his back. He looked back, frowning under his hat, eyes filled with confusion. Was it a misperception? The Nine-Finger Divine Lord felt someone watching him earlier but saw no one when he looked back. The strongest on this street was just a loose immortal. He retracted his gaze and continued on his way. 30 minutes later, he arrived at a residence and met a man in a purple robe in the courtyard. "Senior, please have a seat," the purple-robed man said with a smile, respectfully. The Nine-Finger Divine Lord sat down, placing the large wooden box beside him. He calmly asked, "What business do you have with me?" The purple-robed man sat, waved his right hand, and a purple light barrier rose around the courtyard, then quickly disappeared. He looked at the Nine-Finger Divine Lord and whispered, "Senior, I have a lead on the immortal path supreme treasure you sought before. It is somewhat troublesome. It involves the 7 stars spirit realm. Do you dare to venture there?" Guan nodded. Since the Ji family had turned to the 7 stars spirit realm, and Xiao Dai came from the 7 stars spirit realm, Guan naturally had to go along with their thoughts. If these two still had doubts about him, he could only have Sword Venerable Fudao take action. Seeing Guan nod, Xiao Dai didn't seem pleased. Instead, he frowned and said, "Actually, the 7 stars spirit realm is not as good as you think." Upon hearing this, Guan looked at him in amazement. What does this mean? Could it be that Xiao Dai harbored enmity toward the 7 stars spirit realm? Ji Hantian chimed in, "The previous great calamity of demons is related to the 7 stars spirit realm. We sought you out because we feared you esteemed the 7 stars spirit realm too much, and there are some things we need to tell you." Without waiting for Guan to respond, Ji Hantian explained the origins of the demon ancestor and evil demon, leaving Guan dumbfounded. Guan actually knew this long ago but had to act surprised while contemplating their intentions. After Ji Hantian finished, Xiao Dai said, "The actions of the 7 stars spirit realm disgust me deeply. Ever since I embarked on the immortal cultivation path, I wanted to be an immortal who saves the world. That was also why I chose to join the 7 stars spirit realm. But a friend of mine exposed the crimes of the 7 stars spirit realm. He came from the Lin family, whose ancestor was slain by Sword Venerable Fudao after attacking the supreme sect. Later, during the siege of the evil demon, the Lin family suffered heavy losses. Taking advantage of this, their adversaries within the Seven Stars spirit realm sought to exterminate them. Before fleeing, my friend left me a letter exposing the general misdeeds committed by the high-ups of the Six Stars cave against the Lin family. It took me years to fully accept these facts. Guan felt a sigh of lament at hearing that the Lin family had been abandoned by the Seven Stars spirit realm. Of course, the Lin family's annihilation was not undeserved, just infighting among dogs. Guan furrowed his brow and said, I am merely a minor cultivator in the Foundation establishment realm. Why are you telling me this? I cannot help you. Don't think of using Pan-An's name to expose the Holy Land. I cannot afford to provoke them. Ji Hantian smiled, rest assured, we are not that reckless. The Seven Stars spirit realm is currently too powerful, and even the combined forces of the three dynasties can't shake it. We just hope you won't exalt the Seven Stars spirit realm in your books in the future. Xiao Dai nodded and said, exactly. Your influence is truly great. I used to disdain it until I read your Investiture of the Gods and Journey to the West, only then realizing your prowess. However, I liked your Supreme Immortal Venerable the most. The story of a comeback is more captivating. So that's what it's about. Guan found it both laughable and exasperating. Reading Journey to the West, no less. Guan walked past and curiously asked, Brother, why don't you read inside? There are seats in there. Foundation establishment realm, just average. Even his appearance was average. But Guan felt something off about his aura, so he used lifespan detection. Yu Yingying, Foundation establishment realm, 8th floor 124/400/5000, Maximum lifespan of 5,000 years? Why is the cultivation level so low? And the name is a woman's? Doesn't seem like she's disguised as a man. Yu Yingying looked up at Guan and replied, it's too noisy inside. It's more peaceful here, and I can feel the nature. Then she suddenly scrutinized Guan, hesitated, and asked, Are you Guan? Chapter 213 Divine Monarch arrives. Great opportunity. Hearing Yu Yingying's inquiry, Guan hesitated for a moment and asked, I am. Do you know me, Daoist friend? Yu Yingying's eyes lit up and she said, My name is Yu Yingying. Senior brother Xian recommended that I come to find you. I was originally going directly to your Medicine Valley but couldn't resist coming to see Journey to the West first. Senior brother Xian Tianyi? That's right. We are from the same sect in the Star Sea congregations. You might not know about the Star Sea congregations, they are a great sect overseas. She started introducing the Star Sea congregations, and Guan listened attentively, pondering why Xian Tianyi had sent her. Guan became increasingly certain that Yu Yingying was indeed a woman, merely using some miracle technique to make her aura and appearance resemble that of a man. Such means were truly impressive. Without using divine sense to probe her, she could deceive someone at the 9th level of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm like Guan. How could it not be impressive? However, since she came from the Star Sea congregations, it made sense. The Star Sea congregations had a long history and had certainly produced heaven and earth flying immortals, possessing miracle techniques and divine skills that could deceive the senses of such beings. It wasn't unusual. Yu Yingying greatly admired Gu An's Investiture of the Gods and Journey to the West, so her words were filled with praise. For a long time. Guan asked, Daoist friend, you didn't come just to find me, did you? Coming all the way from overseas just for 2 books? He didn't believe it. Yu Yingying surely had other motives. Yu Yingying nodded and said, To be honest, senior brother recommended me to sit at the Supreme Sect. But fearing I would be bored, he suggested I come to see you. I am indeed very interested in your books. To sit? Guan became even more curious. Yu Yingying said, Senior brother fears that the Seven Stars spirit realm might attack the Supreme Sect. With me around, they would at least not dare to act rashly. So impressive? This Foundation establishment realm's 6th layer cultivator seemed to have a significant background. What background could intimidate the Six Stars Cave? Guan pondered while inquiring further, but Yu Yingying didn't want to say more. Later, Guan invited her to the Third Medicine Valley, but she refused politely, saying she had already rented a residence in the outer sect and would visit him if she felt bored. Guan was just being polite. Since she refused, he naturally wouldn't insist. Yu Yingying suddenly waved her sleeve, transforming into a slender woman in blue clothes, with fair skin and a beautiful face. Her eyes carried a playful and mischievous spirit. Her long hair reached her calves, the ends tied with a red scarf. After the demonic calamity ended, the Seven Stars spirit realm was quite restrained, causing no further troubles but sending more disciples down the mountain to establish more connections with the secular world. Because of this, the Seven Stars spirit realm remained highly regarded in the immortal cultivation world, with many sects hoping to establish friendly relations with them. Guan silently pondered. After a long time, the blood prison great saint finally awakened, exclaiming excitedly, "What a domineering cultivation technique! Master, if I cultivate this technique for 1,000 years, can I ascend into the realm of immortal path in one leap?" It was willing to be Guan's steed for 1,000 years, with its cultivation sealed. It was perfectly suited to cultivate the primordial reincarnation skill during this time. That depends on whether you put in the effort. Guan replied with a smile. The blood prison great saint wanted to say more, but Guan patted its head, transmitting a message that someone was approaching, causing it to shut up immediately. "Let's continue on our way," Guan said. The blood prison great saint immediately resumed walking. The mountain path wasn't too steep, with the surrounding flowers and birds making the journey refreshing. Just as they exited the forest, a figure approached from ahead. It was the Nine-Fingered Divine Lord, still wearing a straw hat and looking travel-worn. He came before the blood prison great saint and asked, "May I ask if you are a disciple of the Supreme Sect, brother?" The blood prison great saint stopped, scrutinizing the man but unable to discern his depth. "I am Guan of the Supreme Sect. May I ask what brings you to our sect, Daoist friend?" Guan raised his hand in greeting, smiling as he asked. The Nine-Fingered Divine Lord had sought out Guan because he observed that among the local cultivators, Guan had the highest cultivation level, thus most likely belonged to the Supreme Sect. The Nine-Fingered Divine Lord looked up at Guan, feeling as if he had seen him somewhere before. However, with Guan only at the core formation realm, having encountered many with similar cultivation levels in his travels, he paid it no mind. "I am Daoist Nine-Finger, a loose cultivator wandering the world. I've heard of the Supreme Sect's reputation and wish to join. May I ask if you could introduce me?" Guan naturally didn't refuse, agreeing readily, and began leading the way. The blood prison great saint walked at a leisurely pace, and the Nine-Fingered Divine Lord was in no hurry, using the time to learn more about the Supreme Sect from Guan. He asked many questions, and Guan answered them all, his forthrightness furthering the Divine Lord's favorable impression of him. After a considerable time, the two grew closer. "Daoist friend, could you tell me your cultivation level so that I can decide whether to take you to the outer sect or the inner sect?" Guan asked. Chu Jingfeng hesitated and asked, "May I know the senior's identity?" The Nine-Fingered Divine Lord's eyes flashed with appreciation. "I am a loose cultivator from overseas. I met your Valley Master. Tomorrow, I will join the Supreme Sect. I am an Unification Realm cultivator. According to your Valley Master, becoming an elder shouldn't be difficult." Unification Realm cultivator. Chu Jingfeng was stunned. To him, Unification Realm cultivators were exalted, unapproachable beings. He gritted his teeth and said, "I need to discuss this with the Valley Master. He took me in when I was in distress. I can't just leave." "Ha ha ha, talk to him tomorrow then." The Nine-Fingered Divine Lord laughed, then turned and left. This foolish boy didn't realize he had encountered a great fortune. Of course, Guan's divine sense could locate the minor heaven and earth realm of the seven stars spirit realm, but the restrictions there were highly advanced. Sneaking in unnoticed was beyond his capability. If he forced his way in, it would certainly alert the cultivators of the seven stars spirit realm. Are they up to something again? Guan pondered as he dealt with Tian Yaoer. With the passage of summer into autumn, the weather remained hot. At noon, Guan rode the blood prison Great Saint to the outer gate city. There, he overheard cultivators talking about a recent event. An immortal path supreme treasure. Did you hear? There are signs of an immortal path supreme treasure in the demon land. What's an immortal path supreme treasure? I don't know either. I heard it's an immortal's magic artifact. Possessing it grants the power of an immortal. I heard about it too, but no one knows the exact location yet. Is this immortal path supreme treasure more powerful than the heaven-cutting axe? Guan listened silently, but the blood prison Great Saint, unable to contain his curiosity, asked, Master, is there really such an immortal path supreme treasure? Guan did not answer but looked ahead. Yu Yingying approached, hands behind her back, her face beaming with a smile. It's true. Want to know more? She asked. The blood prison Great Saint nodded, eagerly looking at her. However, Yu Yingying rolled her eyes at him and then looked at Guan. Guan smiled and said, Of course, I'm also interested. Come to my residence, I have something to discuss with you, Yu Yingying said, turning to leave. Guan patted the Great Saint, signaling him to follow. After 30 minutes, they were sitting in a courtyard. Yu Yingying and Guan sat across from each other at a stone table. She began to introduce the immortal path supreme treasures. The world has magic artifacts, dharma treasures, and immortal treasures. Immortal treasures are magic artifacts crafted at the immortal path realm, only wielded by an immortal's mana. But an immortal path supreme treasure is crafted by the mightiest of the immortal path, each imbued with an immortal spirit. These supreme treasures not only contain immense power but also remain unaffected by the passage of time. The beings who crafted them either left the mortal world or have passed away, but the treasures endure. The Star Sea congregations possess one such supreme treasure, the Star Sea Primordial Unity Banner, which is their church treasure. The Holy Land, the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, also has an immortal path supreme treasure, the Seven Stars Mirror, which is likewise their church treasure. Recently, it is said that the Seven Stars Spirit Realm discovered another fake immortal treasure, and the entire ocean is competing for it. I hadn't expected the news to spread so widely that even the low-level cultivators of the Supreme Sect would hear of it. Guan, curious, asked, What is a fake immortal treasure? Had his master written a book for him? Who was Sun Wukong? Could it be the monkey in Tianya Valley? Thinking of those 3 monkeys, the blood prison Great Saint felt angry. Those 3 always stealthily pulled his fur, and he couldn't catch them. 2 hours passed like this. Yu Yingying brought tea and snacks, indicating she had no intention of letting Guan leave. In the few years since arriving at the Supreme Sect, she hadn't sought out Guan because she was busy reading. She had read through all the books in the book collection hall, a determination that impressed even Guan. At that moment, a high-pitched dragon's roar echoed from the sky. Yu Yingying's face changed, and she murmured, Dragon-slaying spear Qi Zhou. Chapter 215, 700,000 years lifespan limit dragon-slaying spear Qi Zhou? Dragon-slaying? How arrogant. The blood prison Great Saint heard Yu Yingying's words and couldn't help but show a curious expression. He looked up to the south and saw a golden glow appearing in the sky, becoming more and more spectacular, as if the sky was changing color. Guan also turned his head to look. In fact, he had already seen the figure of the approaching person. Nirvana Realm 9 layers. The golden light gradually enveloped the sky above the Supreme Sect. More and more people flew up, looking into the distance. Dragon roars echoed continuously, growing louder, indicating that the person was getting closer. Soon, a 1,000-foot-long 5-clawed golden dragon flew from the horizon. Its majestic and imposing figure shook the outer gate city. Guan saw that in the dragon's head was a long spear, entirely golden, with a golden dragon coiled around the shaft, its mouth spitting out the spear blade, exuding dominance. That was a very extraordinary Dharma treasure. Perhaps it was the immortal treasure that Yu Yingying mentioned. This golden dragon was condensed from the immortal treasure and was not a true dragon. Standing on the dragon's head was a man wearing a gold-patterned white robe, a red belt around his waist. His shoulders were broad, his posture upright, his aura couldn't be concealed. His face was handsome, his long hair coiled under a crown, with 2 strands of black hair hanging in front of his ears, fluttering in the wind. Qi Jiuxiao stood high above, looking down at the supreme sect, a smirk on his lips, and his gaze arrogant. Gu An's gaze locked onto him, throwing a lifespan detection at him. Qi Jiuxiao, Nirvana Realm 9 Layers 998/25,000/7000000, 700,000 years of ultimate lifespan. Very exaggerated. This guy wasn't even 1,000 years old yet, and was already in the Nirvana Realm 9 Layers? No wonder he was so proud. Who is this person? The Blood Prison Great Saint couldn't help but ask. He could feel that the other party was definitely above the Mahayana realm. Yu Yingying looked up at the sky and said softly, he is a disciple of the Star Sea congregations, with top-notch talent. At the age of 500, he stepped into the realm of immortal path. The golden dragon he rides is transformed from the dragon-slaying spear, which is an immortal treasure refined by an ancient immortal. Although it is not as great as the supreme treasure of the immortal path, with this spear, even a loose immortal would find it difficult to kill him. Qi Jiuxiao, standing high above, looked down and saw Yu Yingying through the sky. He slightly raised an eyebrow and suddenly leaped down. The city protection array of the outer gate city was instantly disturbed, but it was broken as soon as it appeared, with no resistance whatsoever. In the days that followed, powerful presences occasionally swept past the supreme sect, and divine senses occasionally scanned the supreme sect. This made the atmosphere within the supreme sect tense, fearing they would suffer in the crossfire. 5 days later, LV Badian came to find Guan. The two hid in a room to talk. After setting up a restriction, LV Badian couldn't help but sigh. Lately, many great cultivators from overseas are arriving. The peace of this continent is about to be broken. He felt very aggrieved. Those overseas great cultivators freely probed the supreme sect without greeting, completely ignoring them. The most crucial part was that the supreme sect had to endure it. Not only the supreme sect, but the 3 dynasties and all sects felt this way. After surviving the demon calamity, all sects were eager to grow stronger. But in just a few years, so many beings at the immortal path realm appeared, making them feel like weeds. Before the demon calamity, I lived for hundreds of years without seeing a Mahayana realm cultivator, let alone those at the immortal path realm. Now, how come there are more and more? LV Badian said troubledly. Guan comforted him, it's okay, for now, no one is endangering the supreme sect. Their target should be that so-called supreme treasure of the immortal path. LV Badian nodded, I just wanted to vent to you. Now the Hall of Elders is on high alert, fearing another calamity may break out. Boom, a deafening roar came from afar, startling LV Badian, cutting off his words. Gu An's divine sense swept out, seeing Qi Jiuxiao fighting a Nirvana realm great cultivator far beyond Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. That person should be from the 7-star spirit realm. His aura did not come from overseas but seemed to have suddenly appeared. Qi Jiuxiao was indeed strong, completely suppressing the opponent. Guan sensed a loose immortal aura approaching the battlefield, also emerging from the minor heaven and earth of the 7-star spirit realm. I need to go back. LV Badian stood up and then disappeared from the room. Guan also stood up, walked downstairs, and saw disciples gathering. The previous noise had scared them, and they couldn't help but be afraid. Lu Lingjun also walked out from inside. She and the Blood Prison Great Saint looked in the same direction. After a while, Lu Lingjun withdrew her gaze and looked at the Blood Prison Great Saint. Why did it seem like the Blood Prison Great Saint was also looking in her direction? The Blood Prison Great Saint felt her gaze and couldn't help but glare at her. Stupid bull. Lu Lingjun shook her head and smiled, then walked towards Guan. The Blood Prison Great Saint couldn't help but curse, "You're the stupid one." Lu Lingjun glanced at him, a terrifying murderous intent locking onto him, making his bull body stiffen. Guan also gave the Blood Prison Great Saint a look, forcing him to lower his head. The Blood Prison Great Saint felt extremely aggrieved. A dignified Mahayana realm cultivator, humiliated by a mystic heart realm cultivator, unable to retort. He now really hated Lu Lingjun. Thousands of years later, I definitely won't join your Ascension sect, and I'll even steal your people. Lu Lingjun smiled with satisfaction, then came to Guan. Why do you argue with him? Guan pretended to complain. Upset? I apologize to you, how would I know he has such a bad temper? Usually, she was in seclusion, unaware of what the Blood Prison Great Saint had gone through. Never mind, treat him better in the future. After all, he's my mount. Guan shook his head, making the Blood Prison Great Saint feel very touched. Lu Lingjun laughed, this bull is too weak. If you want a mount, I can get you a stronger one. The Blood Prison Great Saint's anger flared up again. Guan feared he would die of anger, so he pulled Lu Lingjun to an isolated place. Lu Lingjun sought him out of curiosity about recent events. Guan didn't hide anything and told her about the rumors of the supreme treasure of the immortal path. Lu Lingjun became interested and flew north directly. Really reckless. Are all ascenders like this? Guan felt helpless. His divine sense locked onto Qi Jiuxiao. This guy was already facing a loose immortal. The loose immortal seemed to be the master of the Nirvana realm cultivator, continually warning Qi Jiuxiao. But Qi Jiuxiao was extremely arrogant, soon starting a fight after a few words. One had to admit that the dragon-slaying spear in Qi Jiuxiao's hand was indeed powerful, capable of both offense and defense, preventing the loose immortal from defeating him in a short time. Of course, Guan could see that the loose immortal was very cautious of Qi Jiuxiao, not dealing a deadly blow. Before long, Qi Jiuxiao was still defeated and had to retreat. The immortal treasure could only protect him from death but couldn't help him kill a loose immortal realm great cultivator. After the battle ended, Guan retracted his divine sense and turned back to the house. In the middle of the night, and Hao walked through the woods, holding a map. He had obtained it by chance, and it was said to record the cave of an ancient great cultivator. As he walked, he suddenly sensed something, quickly putting away the map, warily looking around, and a long sword appeared in his hand. Footsteps came from the darkness. He looked closely and saw a man approaching. It was Qi Jiuxiao. And Hao did not recognize Qi Jiuxiao but could sense that the other was very strong. Qi Jiuxiao's face was very bad. He looked at Hao and asked, "Hey, what's your name? Which sect or school are you from?" Hao frowned, "My name is Hao, from the Supreme Sect." Qi Jiuxiao said, "The Supreme Sect? There's a connection. One of my junior sisters is in the Supreme Sect."